Off we go for 2026. It is week one of Live with Friday Night Drive, and we are glad you are with us here on the earliest Friday night that we can ever remember. We've had some that have been this close, but never this early in the season, and so we are glad to get going for the 2026 season. Thank you for joining us wherever you are watching us or listening to us, perhaps on 105.5 The Ticket down there in Kankakee as well. My name is Matt Rodewald. He's Steve Soucie. We are underway for the season. How excited are you, Souce, for this whole shebang-a-bang of a football season?
Oh, it's already, we've got some wild stuff going on here in week one. You know, it's one of those things where you always go into week one expecting there to be an information overload, and I'm having a hard time sorting it all out right now, even with maybe a good portion of some of our games being in long weather delays and stuff like that. There's been more than enough interesting stuff going on here in the early portions of week one to keep us talking for the entire 90 minutes.
We are going to have a lot to discuss, as you mentioned, and so let's set the table for you. We've got games going on right now that started on time. There were a lot of weather delays here in the northern and the northwestern part of the state, at least in the early JV sophomore games that pushed a lot of kicks to about 7:30, 8. I know Erie Prophetstown was going at 8:30. There's rumblings of Sterling kicking at 10. I don't know if they're going to do that. So, and then a couple of cancellations that we've seen so far, so we'll sort that out. And some weather delays that have happened because of lightning that are going on right now. Marengo being one of them. I think they've gone to their second 30-minute delay. We also have plenty of finals that have come in today and some surprises as well across the board. And I'm going to start in the Fox Valley if we can here, Souce, because I want to know. And actually, Ethan Wiles hits me up on Twitter. You can see my handle on the screen, Matt_Rodewald. He asks, when was the last time Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge both lost on the same day? And I'm going to add in the regular season. I have no idea when that was.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that either. That's a fascinating
We're going to have to find that one out.
It has been a long time, I can tell you that much, because both of those results kind of surprising when it comes off on the surface, especially the Cary Grove one. In my mind, that was one that I was kind of expecting a little bit different from. I know both these teams were replacing a lot from last year, but it's uncommon to have both of them sitting here at 0-1 after week one, especially when they weren't playing one another, which they've done in the past as well.
Right. Cary Grove goes down 20-7 to Jacobs tonight. Meanwhile, Prairie Ridge loses to Crystal Lake South, a team that was 1-8 last year. So who knows how this is going to shake out in that league across the board. You got the scores in the bottom of your screen. We're going to see those throughout the course of the evening, and we're going to go through some of the games and keep an eye on the ones that are in progress right now. We're watching Batavia and Maine South. I was over there for a quarter, and I only got a quarter in a couple of minutes, and I have some observations on Jamison Purcell, and also got to look at Michael Vander Loop-Garin, which is a fun one to say, especially when you see the name across the back of the jersey, because there's a lot of letters there for sure. But the offense has got going in that one for sure. Geneva and Libertyville wrapping up there. I was watching Naperville Central and Wheaton Warrenville South. Plenty of games that are happening in the Catholic League of Interest as well. We were watching Brother Rice go down to the wire. What was the result of that when you saw it?
Lincoln Way East with a surprising 22-21 victory in that one. It felt like Brother Rice had that one in control, but they couldn't get separation. Lincoln Way East just kept hanging around, threw a little bit of razzle-dazzle at him in the third quarter to pull within 2 points at that point in time, and then got a fourth quarter field goal and hung on for a 22-21 victory. Lincoln Way East getting a big stand inside of 2 minutes. They stopped Brother Rice freshman quarterback Sam Holcomb on a 4th-and-1 play, got them the ball back. They were able to run out the clock and pick up what I think is one of the impressive victories of week one. People, including myself, looked at Brother Rice as being one of the top teams in the state coming in. A lot of questions for Lincoln Way East with losses to graduation. How would they compete in this game? A lot of people were thinking this was probably going to be a runaway, and Brother Rice basically did not get it done tonight. Lincoln Way East proving you cannot bury the Griffins. They are here to stay.
So Lincoln Way East gets the win tonight. Some finals to report. Let's go down the list as best we can here. Glenbard West, a 21-14 win over Lockport. They actually moved that one to, I think it was a 6 o'clock start to get going for that one. Huntley with a 49-0 runner on Hampshire tonight. The final in the Fox Valley. That's the only normal score that we've seen so far. DePaul, a winner over Richards, 32-22. I believe Hersey was in control over Carmel. Do we have a final in that one? It was kind of getting moving here. I don't know if that one was late or not, but Hersey was in charge of that one. It was 31-14 last check. Do you have a final? So we'll still keep.
I have not seen the final on that. To be sure.
Okay. They have been at halftime, by the way. Batavia and Maine South, 28-21. Plenty of touch passes back and forth between those two, where it was basically scoreless for the first 6 minutes of that game for sure. Keep on going through the scores that I can find. And just to give you a final as a recap, as you missed us at the top here, Crystal Lake South, a 22-8 winner over Prairie Ridge. And again, Prairie Ridge and Cary Grove, 15 total points tonight. Providence over St. Rita. That's a final that's crossed. Providence 28, St. Rita 21. Prospect over Stevenson 31-10. Finals that we've seen so far. What jumps out at you as you're watching the game, Souce? What's catching your attention across the state at this point?
Just wound that the end of that Providence St. Rita game down that you mentioned. Providence seemed to have that game in check. Led early, had a 21-7 lead at one point. St. Rita comes raging back, gets back to tie the game with about 7 minutes left. They tie it at 21. Providence puts together a long drive, ends up punching it in with about 4 minutes left to win that game 28-21. So that's a good, strong non-conference victory there for Providence. Non-conference in conference, if you will. That's a game that I was thinking was going to be an interesting measuring stick for them. Another one out of the Catholic League that kind of raised my eyebrow. I knew this was going to be a challenging game for them, and it proved that it was. Wheaton St. Francis going over to New Palestine, Indiana. New Palestine wins that one 28-17. So that was another game that I was looking at heading into tonight. Really interested in how it came up. You also mentioned another one that I was pretty interested in. That's a nice win for DePaul Prep. That's a good Oaklawn Richards team. Yeah. I was wondering where DePaul Prep was going to be coming into the season. They lost a couple of kids, prominent kids to transfer. I didn't know what we were going to get, but that's a nice start to the season for DePaul Prep.
It really is. And, after winning the state championship and then jumping up a couple classes and naturally facing a little bit of a whoa factor, they've sort of settled in there. And so that should be interesting to see if they can catapult that into anything throughout the course of the rest of the season for them, at least in the non-conference slate as well. We're going to keep going with scores, but before we do, I want to start with the recaps because we have a bunch of reporters. We're going to introduce some brand new reporters to the Live with Friday Night Drive crowd. So you're used to the regulars, and I don't think we have one from Eddie out in DeKalb because DeKalb and Sycamore got waved off, so we won't see his beard tonight. So we have to wait for that for next week. But in the meantime, we have Josh, who is at Glenbard West and Lockport, as he has the report from the Glenbard West 21-14 winner tonight down in the southwest suburbs.
It's Josh Rodewald from Friday Night Drive, where the final score here at Lockport High School, Glenbard West 21, Lockport 14. Glenbard West defense, which is pretty young, only 3 or 4 starters back, got 2 stops in the fourth quarter when it was a 21-14 game to preserve the lead. Glenbard West, their big Northwestern commit, Brady Johnson, 6 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. He had a big 36-yard catch to set up another touchdown for Amari Harris, who ran for 2 touchdowns. For Lockport, Griffin Russell, their first-year quarterback, he threw for a touchdown to Jackson Little. Had a very good game for them. So final score, Glenbard West 21, Lockport 14.
Glenbard West, we saw them sort of re-emerge after missing the playoffs in a rarity. Just where do you look at Chad Hetlett's program and this win tonight? Has to be a good one to get on the road for him.
Yeah, that was an interesting measuring stick game right out of the box for both of these programs, I think. Glenbard West has a lot of talent on that roster. 2 kids up front, they're Division I signees, a very talented dual threat quarterback in A.J. Rayford, who hopefully will have the opportunity to go fully healthy this year. There were some injury issues last year that kept him from doing so. But when he was on the field, he's an electric difference maker for this team. So that was a game that I thought would be very much like it turned out to be, kind of a grind it out effort on both sides of the football. Glenbard was picking up a pretty important win for them. Maybe not as stressful as it used to be to get themselves into the playoffs, but when you consider that they start before they even get a conference, they go Lockport, and then next week they host. They're not fooling on. So definitely a good win for them to get a little bit of momentum heading into two.
Looking at some of the finals that have crossed and some off the beaten path here, Souce, as we go downstate a little bit as well. Lincoln Way West, 24-7 over Belleville East. Lots of blowouts, as you would imagine, downstate and other spots as well. How about McHenry over Crystal Lake Central, 13-7, as we might as well finish out what's going on in the Fox Valley tonight for the most part. The Fisher Bunnies get a win tonight, 40-14 over Cumberland. It was Galena, a shutout winner over Rushville Industry, and I saw pictures of that place. Boy, the Galena Pirates have a beautiful facility out there in the northwest corner of the state. Fenwick, 28-13, a final over Joliet Catholic. That was kind of a sneaky game, a sneaky good one across the state. And can we give it up for the Lisle Lions? 49-28, a winner over Aurora Central Catholic. They didn't play varsity football last year, and they get a win out of the gate. Give it up for the Lisle Lions. Lissel, as I said as a kid.
Yeah, nice bounce back for them. I didn't hear that score. That's the first I'm hearing of it. So, yeah, that's a good win for them.
Elsewhere, Elk Grove 20-6 over Maine West. We have some other finals moving down the state. Oh, Normal Community over Bloomington. That was a 47-4 final. Let me repeat that. 47-4. You never see that. How do you get 4 points? There's only one way. Well, there were in colleges 2 ways. But there's only one to get 4 points. That's 2 safety dances. So, have you seen one of those in a while?
I can't say that I have. I mean, it's been a while.
Oswego 44-22 over Neuqua Valley. Just keeping an eye on this one tonight. Oswego pulled away. What do you think of the Panthers with 44 points tonight on the board?
Yeah, that's a good start for them. And it was a game that it took them a little while to get their feet under them, but when they did, because I was kind of monitoring that one, and all of a sudden I looked up and I hadn't looked at it for a little while, and Oswego had erupted for about 3 consecutive touchdowns in a very short period of time. So a good showing for them, obviously hoping to rekindle the success that they had last year, getting to the 8A state championship game. A lot of people kind of wondering if they have what they need to do that, but a really good stepping stone game for them out of the box.
Providence, by the way, over St. Rita, as we mentioned, 28-21. That was an overtime game, as should be mentioned as well. Hayworth over Shelbyville, 27-6. The Hornets get on the victory column to start the season. And moving around, Camp Point Central, a 28-0 winner over West Central. Addison Trail, a winner tonight over West Chicago, 40-12. Wilmington, as heard on 105.5 The Ticket, over Bishop Max, 16-7. And this score caught my attention, Souce. Joliet Central, a winner tonight over Thornridge, 23-20. Joliet Central, we like seeing when they get a win. The Steelmen coming out on top today.
Win for them out of the and then they have an opportunity to maybe go to 2-0 next week. Yeah. They've got a stag program that has had trouble getting. So maybe Joliet Central turn corner here.
Well, I mean, the other thing is the new playoff setup, and we'll talk more in depth on this, probably a little more on our Monday telecast that folks will be able to hear early in the week, just about the setup. But your eye now kind of moves to 3-6 and 2-7, so you get to 2 wins, then you start thinking about what you can do, and if you can sneak a third win out of it, given the right schedule, well, you're in the dance in week number 10, aren't you?
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, because I'm strongly of the opinion that we're going to need 2-win teams to fill this field, and I think we're going to need a healthy handful of them to do it. So 2 doesn't necessarily lock you in, but if you play a strong schedule, 2 puts you in a pretty good shape. 3, I think 3 almost guarantees it at this point. So yeah, that would be one of those situations where you start getting into the math here, but every simulation I've tried to run on it over the summer has forecast that we are going to need 2-win teams to fill out this field. So it'll be a little bit different in terms of talking when you've clinched a playoff berth than it has ever been before.
All right, we've got a lot of scores in progress. We want to get to our reports as well. A Bradley Bourbonnais victory tonight. And let's introduce Saeed as he has a report from the Boilermaker victory tonight.
Saeed Bravo of the Kankakee Daily Journal coming to you from the TF North campus, where the Bradley Bourbonnais Boilers just took home their first victory of the season, 34-7 against TF North. That was largely thanks to 4 touchdowns from Kyron Edmonds, the 3-star junior running back, who was pretty dominant despite a couple fumble issues in the first half. He said he was very intent on trying to fix that in the second half, and that's something he'll keep working on the rest of the season. As far as the defense had a pretty slappy first half as well. A lot of penalties throughout that first half, but then in the second half they turned the ship around. They didn't allow more points. It's hard to believe that in the first half this game ended the first half 13-7. Well, it was pretty dominant the rest of the way on behalf of the Boilers, and this is how Coach Kubel gets his first victory of the season. After 16 seasons with the program, he becomes the head coach, and in his first game he wins, but he says that there's still a lot of work to be done, as next week they face an even better opponent, and we'll see how that all continues to unfold.
That's the kind of win, and thanks to Saeed for the report. That's the kind of win, Souce, that when you're on the coaching staff, and you've been on the coaching staff for 16 years, you spend a couple extra minutes in the coach's office after the game, after you kind of have the quick debrief with the offense and the defense and the special teams and the everybody that was in the press box, and you have that moment to yourself and you go, I got to win as a head coach. That feels pretty nice. Now we're going to go back to work. But that one little moment, they have that moment for a brief minute, and that's really special for those guys.
Yeah, it's a pretty long gap for Joe Kubel because it's not his first head coaching job, but he had been an assistant at Bradley Bourbonnais for a very long time before going back to being a head coach. So he was at Moments prior to that. But basically he comes through, and that's an interesting Bradley Bourbonnais team. Not really sure what to expect from them out of the gate. Lost a lot of key control, but Edmond is back. He's the kind of guy that can really carry things for you and is an explosive playmaker. So it'll be interesting to see how the Boilermakers do moving forward.
All right, let's take a look at some scores that are in progress around the state. And let's start in Western Illinois to kind of walk through what's going on in the western part of the state. Anna Wethersfield in the third quarter leading Elmwood Brimfield. That's 22-0. They're at the half at Abingdon Avon and West Hancock. Abingdon Avon with the 27-12 lead. Again, weather delays everywhere. So you're going to say, what? They're only at the half? There's a couple of games still in the first quarter. Rock Ridge, by the way, over Kewanee. That's 13-7. They're midway through the first quarter right now, and they're going to play late into the night for some of these games. Stark County, the game's over in Wyoming. That's a 27-14 lead over South Fulton. That game is in the fourth quarter there. And Rochester leading Moline. They've gone through some rain delays. So Rochester, the Rockets with a 14-10 lead on the Maroons. They're in the final minute of the first half. Midway through the third quarter, it's Spring Valley Hall with a 2-point lead, 26-24 on Mercer County. Illini West over Princeville. That's in the final minute, 22-17. We'll see if we can get a final in that. And Beardstown, 3 minutes to go in that one with a 45-20 lead over North Green. Continuing in the northern part of the state, we've been watching Byron, of course, 21-0 over North Boone. That is early second quarter. They've had some rain issues out there as well. EPC, Eastern La Pearl City, 24-0 lead. They're in the midway portion of the fourth quarter over Sandwich. Erie's Prophetstown, they've gotten going, and I believe they've gotten to the half. That game started at 8:30. Erie Prophetstown with a 12-8 lead on Monmouth Roseville. In Forreston over Dwight, that game 3 minutes left in the third quarter. The Trojans trailing Forreston 42-6. Do we have a score from Dixon and Genoa Kingston? I want to double check this score here because they were in a rain delay too. Their late first quarter, I have this as 6-0. The Cogs leading Dixon at this point. That sounds like a bit of a surprise, just if it's that close that early in the game.
I have that feed up right now. I'm not sure if it's live, but yeah, I have a Dixon with a 7-6 lead right now.
Okay.
They got
and you know
started
what?
very late.
They did, and they've had some rain issues there for sure. So that's something to keep in mind as we go deeper into the evening hours. And we'll just, as I said on social media, we are looking at games that are going to go deep into the night and taking us at least to the 11 o'clock portion of this show. We got a final from Geneva. The Vikings with a 28-14 lead over winner over 28-14 winner over Libertyville over at Burgess Field. So the Vikings go to 1-0 in the season. Back to the scores that we're seeing in the northern part of the state. Go to the Knicks 10 real quick. Harlem with a 12-7 lead over Belvedere North. That game is, I believe, starting the second quarter there. They've had issues out there in the Quad Cities for sure. Canelan with a 21-7 lead at the half on Rock Island. Lena Winslow with a 22-20 lead on Bennett at the half out in Lena. We were watching that one, keeping an eye on that one throughout the offseason. Kind of what you expected, I would say, 22-20 with those two teams fairly evenly matched.
That was definitely one that I was trying to keep an eye on. So it was definitely an interesting one. I just came across a score of what I think is a pretty significant interest right now. With 9:08 left to play in the fourth quarter, IC Catholic leads Nazareth 28-7.
28-7. Wow. That is not
Yep.
close. We'll keep an eye on that one for sure. Yes, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, so that's definitely one of those games that I was keeping an eye on tonight. Wasn't able to pull the feed up for whatever reason, but I just checked in on the score because I was curious about it. And they IC Catholic just stopped Nazareth on a 4th and goal and is leading that one 28-7.
Been fighting the streams tonight a little bit, and I'm watching Homewood Flossmoor all over Bolingbrook. I think it's 31-0. They're in the fourth quarter, kind of winding things down at Bolingbrook tonight. See if I can get about 2:45 left in that one for sure. We're looking for scores. We appreciate the comments that have come in for sure. We're going to get to those as we have those scores come in. And we also have some recaps tonight. For those of you that listened to it on 105.5, the ticket, it was Wilmington over Bishop McNamara by a final of 16-7. And, of course, we had a reporter there, Adam with the report on the Wildcats' first victory of the season.
This is Adam Tomino for Friday Night Drive here in Wilmington, where the Wildcats just kicked off their Class 2A state title defense with a 16-7 win over Bishop McNamara. Low-scoring game today between a couple of talented offenses, but 2 first-quarter touchdowns from Wilmington's Dane Van Dyne was the extent of their touchdowns for the game. And for Bishop McNamara, a 40-yard touchdown in the first quarter from quarterback Michael Lee to receiver Rontez Smith was their only score. Third-quarter safety for Wilmington got them to 16 for the game. Overall, though, a close one today between these two good teams getting things going, and now looking forward to week 2.
That was one in that area, Soucie, that I would imagine had some high interest and quite anticipation. What was the atmosphere like over there? Do you get a chance to go over there for sure?
Yeah, I was over there for a half of the first half of that one. It was a little bit different than I expected. Wilmington came out, did what Wilmington does on their first couple of possessions, drove down the field and ran the ball effectively. Did something I'm not used to seeing Wilmington do very often, turn the ball over, which doesn't happen very much in the first half. And then, McNamara, to their credit, did a pretty good job of kind of fencing in Wilmington's running attack. And even though Bishop McNamara lost this game, I was impressed with their ability to stay in there with Wilmington in the fashion that they did, especially considering a couple of things. They had a very small varsity roster. I counted 21 healthy players in uniform before the game started at the varsity level. I know there were a couple guys on the sidelines looked like they were of varsity sides that were unable to go for injuries or whatever, but I don't think they have mid-20s is probably the max of what that roster is. And another thing about the Fighting Irish, Bradley Bourbonnais transfer Rontez Smith, I think, is going to have a massive year for Bishop McNamara. He looks like he can be a huge playmaker for that team. He did score that one touchdown, they said, but, gaining yards and looking like a really solid offensive player against Wilmington's defense, that says something. He's going to have a big year, in my opinion.
You're going to have to keep an eye on the Irish for sure. When you have 21 kids, there could be a whole host of reasons for it. I remember, and I'm dating myself, 30 years. My sophomore team, we had 15 guys we rolled out against a 6A school against. Why? Not enough guys getting full practices in for sure. Then you had some academic issues. And then there are injuries mixed in there. So you would imagine 21's not the greatest start for sure, but I want to see those numbers week 2, week 3 as everything starts to settle into normalcy with that roster for sure. And maybe some guys that were sort of like, I don't want to come out. Maybe they see that and go, okay, maybe I'll come out. So there is some of that, in play for these coaches. And this is not easy. Sometimes it's a numbers game. It's just simply how many guys can you get to put the pads on? And so those small schools will tell you that more than anything else. And, Wilmington, fortunate for being a 2A school, never really had that problem, all these years, because when you keep winning drives interest, and interest puts people in pads. So curious to see how that will play out for those guys going onward. So we had a score. You just flashed Paul McAndrews. Appreciate the comment there. Talked about Canton with a 30-28 win over Herscher. Don't know what to expect for the Herscher Tigers this year in the ICE conference. We saw Wilmington tonight. Can anyone threaten Wilmington in that league? And is it going to have to be Coal City or anybody else?
Well, I think it is Coal City. I mean, the Coal City has a foundation roster with some guys that have a lot of experience, a lot of good players back at skill positions. It's a very good football team. On the Coal City topic, their game was postponed. They'll complete it tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning. Weather down there in Pontiac keeping them from getting that game going or finished at least. Last I'd heard, I believe Coal City was leading that game 13-0 in the second quarter. They're going to finish that one tomorrow.
Our Oaklawn Spartans are back at it again, Souce. We talked about them a lot last year. Boom! Brian Stone with the 60-0 spanking over Wheeling tonight. They made the playoffs for the first time since 2009, and now they're back at it again. Did they start 7-0, if I remember, or was it 6-0, one of the two?
I think it was 6-0, and then they played Richards in week 7, and it came to an end.
And Richards stinks. Yes, but either way, after 6 wins, I was firmly in the green and white bandwagon driving and saying, come on board. So maybe we have to do that again for sure. Keeping an eye. Anybody who got that score for Clifton Central, the Central Comets, we're looking for that score for sure. We got Mantino over Johnsburg. They're in the fourth quarter now. That's 19-14. Georgetown Ridge Farm over Moments, and that is about 3 minutes to go. A 36-25 lead for Georgetown Ridge Farm. Morris leading in that one. They were going to start, then they weren't going to start. Now they're starting. And it's 42-14 over Lamont. One team has a nickname. The other team is new, and the other team doesn't have a nickname. I'm so confused with Morris and Lamont. Who are these teams? What are they called?
Well, Lamont is still Lamont. I can say that for sure. They still do not have a declared nickname, but Morris is now the Warriors, and that's going to take some getting used to. So but that's definitely I'm interested in the stat line that came out of that Morris game with the transfer of Marion Persich now at quarterback for Morris. I'm interested to see what kind of a stat put up tonight because Morris was comfortably in front of that game. They seem to be scoring at will early on. So interested to see the stat lines that come out of that one.
Couple more scores up north. Dupec with an 8-6 lead on Oregon over the Hawks. That is midway through the second quarter. First time we've seen Dupec in the Big Northern Conference. Northern Suburbs will stay there. A barn burner in Antioch with the Saxons and the Sequats. 27 all, about 2 minutes to go in that one. So we'll keep an eye on that. Glenbrook North over Lakes right now. I think that's gone final. It's Glenbrook North with a 15-6 win, I believe. Grayslake Central leading late on Tinley Park. That's 41-31 midway through the fourth quarter. How about Loyola and the Ramblers? They are up 24-0 on Warren, I should say, as they head into the fourth quarter. Kind of a quiet season, off-season conversation in terms of Loyola, but the Ramblers look like they're back.
That is a really talented football team. I'm gonna toss that record last year out the window and forget about it because that is a really, really good team. They have Matthew Lee at the quarterback position, who's kind of coming into his own. Jordan McKinley, a huge threat wherever Loyola tends to put him, and some other players on that team as well. John Holisek back now leading the team after stepping away for a few years. That is a team that I expect to continue to just kind of put together workmanlike efforts and kind of get back to the level that you're used to from Loyola football.
All right, we need to take a timeout. We've got scores from all over the place of games that are still going on because of the weather delays that we saw in either the undercard game or during the varsity game. Some postponements to kind of sort the table out for as well. We're going to continue on with all the scores and all the surprises, the earliest week one we've had. He's Steve Soucie. I'm Matt Rodewald. This is Live with Friday Night Drive here on Shaw Local.
SGKR Injury Attorneys tackles the toughest cases. I'm Matt Rundio. When life throws a flag, we go on offense to protect your rights. Don't get sidelined. Score a touchdown with SGKR. Visit us at sgkr.law.
I'm Craig Wilcox. Illinois families are taxed enough. As your state senator, I voted against every tax hike Springfield has put in front of me. I fought wasteful spending, and I'll keep standing up to politicians who think the answer is taking more of your hard-earned money.
Since 1851, we've been informing, connecting, and reflecting the communities we serve, large and small, rural and urban, suburban, and river towns alike, with dozens of local newspapers, radio stations, magazines, and specialty brands like Friday Night Drive and Starve Rock Country. We meet people wherever they are. We shine a light on local government. We celebrate Friday night touchdowns. We tell the stories that shape your day, from neighborhood heroes to the Chicago Bears. But what truly sets us apart? It's our people. The award-winning journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers who live here, work here, and care deeply about what matters most to you. We don't just report the news. We're part of the fabric of the places we serve, from the Mississippi to the Illinois, from the Fox all the way to the chain of lakes. Trusted for generations, still earning it every day. Shaw Media, your most trusted local source.
And we welcome you back to Live with Friday Night Drive as we've reached the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us. I'm Matt Rodewald. He's Steve Soucie. We're glad you're with us. Week one of the 2026 football season, and we are going through the scores that are final. We're going through the scores that are still going on. We're going through the scores that are still in the first half. Yes, because of the rain tonight, which means we got a lot of football to sort through. And the best part, Seuss, about these kind of spread out rain delays is we get to take our time with some of these things and sort of kind of see some teams we haven't. But we also have some postponements, which means you and I get to get out tomorrow. Minooka at St. Charles North, 1 o'clock, right in my backyard. I get to go see the Indians
There
tomorrow.
you go.
How about that? Where are you going tomorrow?
I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do because I have a lot
Got
more
choices
options
now.
than I had about 6 or 8 hours ago. I'll be completely honest with you. So that's definitely. I just came across a final that I'm trying to get confirmation on because this one has really thrown me.
Okay.
Chicago King 15, St. Lawrence 14.
Whoa. Wow. All right, we'll hold on to that one, see if we can get to that one. I got a couple that will kind of catch your eye here if we can. First off, we want to pay off the tees. We're looking for the Central Comments score, and Kyle finally got us for us in the comments. Appreciate Kyle Lund with the check-in there for us. Salt Fork over Central. It was a 7-6 final tonight, so the Fighting I-57s go down tonight to Salt Fork. So there you go. There's your question that is answered. Here are a couple finals from up north for you, Seuss, that you might raise an eyebrow to. New Trier, 45, Naperville North, 13.
Woo. Yeah. That's a bit surprising.
There's a little bit of a surprise. They've been good the last couple of years, but they keep doing it. Wakanda, 32-21 over Hinsdale South.
Okay. Yeah, there's a good solid win.
And this one from the Round Lake Panthers. A winner tonight in Round Lake at home over Larkin, 18-14. Round Lake victorious. Give it up to Round Lake. The question I have for you is, and that brings us to a program that I hate to say is a perennial loser in a sense that they've struggled to get wins on the board. You and I were discussing during the week some losing streaks that we want to keep an eye on here. So if you have a big losing streak that snapped, we've got to know about it. So if you see that, hey, they snapped a 10-game skid or a 12-game skid, that's what we want to celebrate on this show. So just remind yourself that when you see that, slide into the old DMs and let us know, and slide into our comments and let us know that final score so we can celebrate you properly. We were looking for Granite City, but they went down tonight, 41-6 to Freeburg tonight. Speaking of Southern Illinois, let's stay down there for just a little bit. Harrisburg went over Anna's Jonesboro 56-3. We mentioned Lincoln Way West's winner over Belleville East 24-7. Breeze Central over Effingham 41-20. Centralia 49-20 over Salem. The Kankakee K's, they go down to Edwardsville and they get a win 28-7. That's a big win for the K's, I would say.
Long trip, good win. So that's definitely an interesting situation for Kankakee because they've never been shy about seeking out non-conference opponents. They go from beating Edwardsville tonight straight into a home date with Lincoln Way East next week. So they're not fooling around. So
no, they really aren't. I got an update from Batavia. It's 35-21. Batavia, as they finally took the lead. They were trailing in that first half, but Soucie, they're at the 10-minute mark of the third quarter right now. That game is going to keep going tonight, and it's going to, if they don't cross to past midnight Eastern, I'll be shocked. For sure. But those two teams have spread it out.
Wrap up on Saturday.
They might wrap up on
Saturday. Like
yes.
Saturday. Yeah.
And, there are a lot of so being there tonight, there were 3 officials that I ref basketball with. And so, we're shooting the breeze, and I'm out there with the coin toss and talking to him. And one of them, I was like, you got about a half an hour. And I was pulling up the radar. He's like, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to know. I don't want to know, because they felt like it was coming. They're like, we'll just let us know when we need to know. Don't tell us now. But it was one of those situations where they're like, let's just get going because it was the JV game that just took forever too. We're seeing a lot of that tonight.
Yep.
And another reason for that is because, let's just be honest, JV players, not as skilled. A lot of penalties tonight. A lot of timeouts because formations are in the wrong setup. We're seeing that all over the place. So week 1 is a traditional week 1 mess. And we're also throwing in some rain delays and lightning delays as a result of it. So here we are in the 10 o'clock hour looking at games in the first half in some places across the state. We mentioned Providence and we mentioned St. Rita. This was a barn burner tonight. Russ Hodges was there for the big overtime win. Here's his report.
Hey everybody, Russ Hodges with Shaw Local Friday Night Drive, recapping tonight's CCL game between St. Rita and Providence. The final score tonight, Providence taking down St. Rita 28-21. Great game. Providence got off to a fast start, ran the ball real well in the first half, had a 21-7 lead. But St. Rita, early in the fourth quarter, 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes. Brandon Johnson Jr. had a 5-yard score. Providence tries a fake punt. St. Rita gets the stop, and then the very next play, 37-yard touchdown pass from John Fennell to TJ Burgos. But Providence came back late in the fourth quarter, capped off a scoring drive with a Broden Mackert touchdown run. Broden tonight had 134 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Braden McKay out of the backfield as well had 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. John Fennell was the star of the night for the St. Rita offense. He had 129 passing yards, 2 touchdown passes to TJ Burgos, who had 100 receiving yards, and then Fennell on the ground, 96 rushing yards. But some big plays late in the fourth quarter by the Providence defense. Jackson Hutton had a sack on a third down play. The sophomore had 2 sacks tonight. Celtics 3 sacks as a team, multiple TFLs. Great effort from their defense early on in this game as well, holding St. Rita to 7 points in the first half. So again, the final score from Doyle Stadium at Chicago St. Rita, it is Providence 28, St. Rita 21. Celtics are starting 1-0, and the Mustangs will start 0-1. I'll have the full game article posted to Friday Night Drive, so follow us on Twitter at Friday Night Drive. Follow me at Russell J. Hodges, and if you want to read the full game story, go to shawlocal.com/Friday Night Drive.
Rush Hodges is a pro at this stuff now. You just start promoting everything. Very good, Rush. Appreciate that. You have two 1,300-yard rushers from a year ago in Johnson and Mackert. I was very impressed seeing Mackert in the postseason last year against Oak Forest, just a bruiser for sure. But those are 2 key guys that you're going to want to pay attention to. I know, Soucie, we've been talking a lot about quarterbacks in this offseason because there are so many Division I quarterbacks that are still in the state, even though a few of them have transferred out. There are a couple of running backs that you want to keep an eye on, especially as you get to November, and those are 2 of them right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Providence has developed a nice little 1-2 punch there in the backfield, and is becoming a productive quarterback for them. So that offense looks a lot more explosive than it's been in Providence for quite some time, and they are in good shape. St. Rita, a little bit of a mystery bag coming into the season, making some changes with some graduated players. Brandon Johnson's still a very good player. St. Rita, for me, this was a really interesting game for them because you start talking about it's not as hard to get into the playoffs. now with the qualification.
Right.
St. Rita is one of these teams where I look at it and say, because I mean, their schedule is so difficult on paper.
Yeah.
There are a couple of schools that have these incredible schedules. Like I mentioned it before, next week they go to Glenbard West, they go to Dushan. After that, they go to Loyola. After that, they host Wheaton St. Francis. The hits just keep coming. They also have Montini on their schedule, Nazareth to close the year. Their schedule is jam-packed full of stuff. I mean, that's so like games like this one, we're already talking about it here in week one. We definitely would have been talking about it in the old system. Boy, some losses mean a little bit more in the grand scheme of things. Ultimately, I'm sure that St. Rita is going to be a playoff team when this is all said and done, primarily because they're going to have a treasure trove of playoff points. So they're not going to need a huge amount of wins just to ensure that they get in. But they're the kind of team right now with a loss like this one where it's really going to kind of put the new system to a test, because you could see in that schedule, you could see St. Rita. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you could see St. Rita finishing 4-5.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen.
The thing I wonder, I'm sorry, Suze, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think from in the past, it would be that 4-5 line that you and I would be like, uh-oh. But there's the other aspect now, I think, when you look towards this, and I think coaches that are watching us right now, maybe they're on their bus and paying attention, shoot us a note, because I want to know if there's a first-tier postseason team and a second-tier postseason team where you have to play that extra game that matters to you now. Like, okay, well, we really want to get that win to get to 5-4 at the very least. But if you drop the 4-5, 3-6, well, now you're talking about having to play an extra week, and as opposed and getting a win to go end up playing a Mount Carmel or something like that. That's just the scenario I have in mind, where the bye plays in now, and how that's going to play in should be interesting from the scheduling standpoint. The fact that I was at Maine South Batavia, I love seeing it. It was great. Okay, awesome. They got together. But those two teams, they have wins on their schedule. They know that. They know they're going to have wins on their schedule throughout their conference slate. It's the teams like Providence and St. Rita where they go, we got to get this one here, because I don't think we want to backslide into, I don't know where this goes. And for St. Rita, you just laid out the schedule that stares, and I'm not going to say they're going to do this, but if things go horribly wrong, you're talking about 2-7, and that's the nightmare. Yeah. But with the treasure trove of points, they're going to be the poster child for everything that nobody wants to see, and a good 2-7 team that we've all heard for years. Well, we're the best 2-7 team in the state. We didn't care before. Now we do, because now we want to see what that means. Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how this thing goes. We've got 9 weeks to do this, twice a week as we go forward. I have scores of intrigue for you. Would you like scores of intrigue? Let's go to the western suburbs. Plainfield North over Lake Park tonight, 22-15. That's a very big playoff point that you and I would talk about in the past. Lake Park not getting a win hurts 4 teams in particular: Wheaton South, Geneva Batavia, St. Charles North.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, but that's one of those things like, I kind of look at that. That was an interesting game for me, just in the sense of looking at what Plainfield North needed to do. They need to kind of get themselves back on track here. They've played a much more rigorous non-conference schedule than they have in the past, and kind of put themselves behind the 8 ball in the Southwest Prairie. And that conference looks really, really deep this year. So that's a win that I think, in the grand scheme of things, Plainfield North almost needed to have to kind of put themselves in a good position once they get into divisional play, because on paper, that division looks pretty solid, 1 through 6.
No, I don't disagree with you on that as well. I mean, it's the fact that Oswego's presence, over the years has been, something that you want to pay attention to. I don't know what Oswego East has. I know Yorkville's reloaded a little bit here as well. And then what we're seeing from Bolingbrook tonight, probably not indicative of what we'll see in the conference season. So it'll be curious to see what the SBC West is going to have for you. I have more scores of intrigue. We've got Conant, a 21-0 winner over Bartlett tonight. Streamwood a winner over Elmwood Park, 34-14. Leiden gets a win over Highland Park, 28-23. And Woodstock over Ridgewood, 35-7. We mentioned Wheaton Warrenville South earlier, 27-7, a winner over Naperville Central. So both Napervilles go down. St. Ed's, a winner over Walther Christian. And Westmont is a winner tonight, beating Chicago Academy 16-12. The Sentinels, Seuss. Westmont, a winner. Now, can they play a full season? That's what I want to know.
Well, here's an interesting little factoid that I looked into before the season started. Westmont currently has 5 games scheduled. So I thought to myself, well, what if Westmont goes 3-2 in that schedule? Will they qualify? I got it clarified with the IHSA. You have to play at least 6 games. So in order for Westmont to get into the playoffs, they've got to schedule another game if they win 3. So that's even if they lose it, they've got to schedule another one to be playoff eligible. So you need to play a minimum of 6 games to be playoff eligible.
I'm looking at you, former Rock Island, former Alleman opponents. I'm looking at you, former Decatur Eisenhower opponents. Go play them, please, because I'd like to see them in the playoffs. I just want to see what that looks like for sure. York over Glenbrook South, 20-17. Any of those other scores I mentioned, do they stick out at all?
Well, the one that you just mentioned, York, was an interesting score to me. I wanted to see what happened there. York is a little bit of a wild card to me. I'm not really sure what the read was on them. Once again, in a stacked West Suburban Conference, where do they fall? Where do they fall in that pecking order? It'll be interesting to see because there are several teams in that conference. Hinsdale Central had a little bit of a bounce back last year as well. So you look at that conference on paper, you're 5-6 deep in that league of every week having an opponent that is going to bring a pretty solid football team to the field.
All of these finals I'm about to read from Central Illinois were road winners. Okay, so keep that in mind for the road. And we start with Plainfield South going to Pekin and winning 27-26. Hillsborough over Pana 27-14. Richmond Burton over Peoria Notre Dame 42-0. The Bullets of Williamsville over Pleasant Plains 49-7. Unity, the Rockets over Rantoul 30-8. Athens over Riverton 46-8. And Cahokia over Springfield 40-0. Southwestern over Staunton, a final of 14-13. Those are some scores from Central Illinois. What else we have? Tri-Valley over GCMS. Do not forget a letter. Gibson City, Melvin, Sibley. We're going to do that again. And that was a final of 48-7. And we mentioned Salt Fork's winner over Clifton Central tonight. Any scores you're watching, seeing right now that are of intrigue for us as they are in the second half? Most of the games that still remain are in the second half. I don't know if anyone's still in the first half. We were getting close there. Well, we do have a couple in the first half for sure. And some of those are still in delayed, and we don't know if we'll have finals from those games as well. Keeping an eye on also Batavia, what's going on with the Batavia Bulldogs and the Maine South Hawks. That game's still going as well. What else are you looking at, Seuss?
Well, IC Catholic winding down what looks to be possibly a 35-14 victory over Nazareth, which is I'm not surprised. IC Catholic is a very talented roster, but I'm also a little surprised, if that makes any sense. Nazareth, chock full of talented players as well. It's just one of those things where, I would have expected Nazareth to come out of that game with a win, but IC Catholic looks like they're going to be a terror in the 3A field right now.
Seuss, I have a game that just started 10 minutes ago. Sterling and Metamora started at 10 o'clock. They're going right now. And they're in Sterling. It's dry, and I'm not kidding. They are playing right now. And first drive got going, derailed by a personal foul, as you see on Twitter. So that is one we can watch here throughout the evening hours. IHSA After Dark. Getting weird out there already. That's usually reserved for my soccer games. We have the state finals for soccer, and this year it'll be at Guilford, so it'll be different up there at Swanson Stadium. But the last quarterfinal game on that Friday always starts like somewhere around 9, and everybody's been there watching soccer for 14 straight hours, and everyone's just weird and loopy, and something strange always happens. So when I call that game, I just call it IHSA After Dark, and everyone embraces it. Well, that one we've got for football for week 1. Is this one of the latest starts you've ever seen? 10 o'clock?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty late. I remember, I can't remember where I was, but there was a long weather delay at a game that I was broadcasting on the radio about 10 years ago. I can't remember what it was. And I think we left the field at 12:30 when it was over because that's how late it got started. But I don't think that start time beats 10. Just got an interesting final in that I just saw here. Downers Grove North with a 17-12 victory over Morgan Park.
17-12 over Morgan Park. Where was that game tonight?
Yes. I believe it was in Downers Grove.
Okay. All right. So if it's a 2-year contract, that means it's a Gately next year, which should be a good time. Yeah. And by the way, Drake Landsman, our guy from Sauk Valley, he is covering that. So I'm literally going to be staring at his feet on that Sterling Memorial game for sure. What do you make of that Morgan Park result for Downers Grove?
Morgan Park is a team that, tends to schedule up in the non-conference schedule. I can't remember who it was last year. It might have been Downers Grove North again. Gave them a real scare last year early in the season. So that's one of those games where Morgan Park coach Chris James will take on that challenge. I know he was looking for a game over the course of the spring, and I sent him my list, and a couple hours later he had Downers Grove North scheduled. He doesn't mess around. So we'll take his kids into those challenging games. And they have put forth a good accounting for themselves in quite a few of those games. So, you can credit them for being able to do that. So that was a good, solid opener for, I think, both teams, and they probably figured out a lot about themselves that they wouldn't have if they would have scheduled maybe a lesser opponent.
Yeah, a lot of Division I talent they're trying to replace as well. With Owen Lansu, we saw not healthy last year as a quarterback, but how will they be able to attack offensively? And I think they're still trying to figure things out. That happens all the time with teams that have an offensive firepower, and then sometimes you have to replace that talent, and it takes a minute to get going. So you're just trying to hang on those first couple of weeks, offensively, and to get a win against Morgan Park. In that fashion is very important for them. So that's good to get things started. Other scores of note. I just crossed this one. The Thornton Wildcats over Morton, 26-18, the final score in that one. So
okay.
Thornton gets a win. That's something we haven't seen very much of. We mentioned Springwood's victory earlier. I like mentioning that for sure. I'm trying to see some of the other games going on that we've had. Maybe stuff we haven't mentioned. Thornwood over Hillcrest, 12-0 final there. Oh. It is a final from Bolingbrook. Homewood Flossmoor, a shutout winner over the Raiders, 31-0. What do you make of Homewood Flossmoor in terms of what they can do this season? Again, it feels very quiet with the Vikings.
It's one of those things that I didn't really hear a lot about them in the offseason. Mm-hmm. They've got a very talented Wisconsin signee, David Hill, on the defensive side of the ball. He's kind of an anchor for them there. The question was whether or not they would be able to, kind of generate enough offense to make this interesting. And I listened to some of that game on the radio when I was driving back from Wilmington, and it seemed like they had found a pretty nice flow to it. They were getting some stuff done. I believe the quarterback's name is Racine Coleman. It seemed like he was playing pretty well for the Vikings tonight. So an interesting situation. You got a guy that has proven that he can build a winning program, and Troy McAllister there, maybe laying down a little bit of a foundation that can make them a really interesting team in the Southwest Suburban Conference. They're another team, just like just about everybody in the Southwest Suburban Conference now, that they are no longer in the divisions. Every week, it seems like they've got a loaded gun pointed back at them. Those are definitely a stacked conference almost all the way through. There's a whole bunch of good football teams in that league this year.
And for Bolingbrook, a little concerning that 17 starters came back and you got nothing against Homewood Flossmoor to start. It is going to be a very long week of practice for those guys in Bolingbrook. It's not going to be fun for sure. So I want to see who they have in week 2. I don't know off the top of my head, but I will be very curious as to who they get, because they're going to take it out on somebody for sure.
I think it is Simeon. I'm not positive about that, but I believe that's who it is.
We'll keep an eye on that for sure. We talk in college, there's the Fun Belt, right? So there's the Sun Belt Conference labeled the Fun Belt. I think the Fox Valley needs to be the Fun Valley. What do you think?
Okay, there we go.
After
Let's
tonight,
try that.
Because we had Prairie Ridge go down. We had Cary Grove go down for sure. We had McHenry getting a win. And Huntley just sort of like doing, we're fine, 49-0 over Hampshire. But let's go back to Crystal Lake South. 1-8 last year, taking out the conference champions in week 1. And Alex Kentucky was there. He's got the recap for Crystal Lake South and the Gator Nation.
Alex Kentucky here with Friday Night Drive in the Northwest Herald. Final from Crystal Lake South, where the host Gators pulled off a big upset over Prairie Ridge, 22-8. PR was a 9-0 FEC champ last year. South only had 1 win, and South coaches were telling me they think this is their first win over PR since about 2010, so I'll have to check on that. Prairie Ridge led 8-7 at halftime, but just could not get anything going offensively. It was kind of raining on and off all night. I don't think that really had much to do with anything. PR, had a lot of mishandled snaps, bad exchanges, that kind of thing that just killed drives. On the other end, big play for the Gators was quarterback Michael Silvius finding Yadian Ramirez for a 61-yard touchdown in the third quarter. Yadian just made one-man miss, made a spin move, and just went flying down the sideline there. And then Michael Silvius added a 4-yard rushing touchdown later. And to kind of finish it off, Ethan Phillips had a interception for South at the end of the game. So again, final from Crystal Lake South, where it was the Gators 22 and PR 8.
Soucie, I have a little Bible I created right here. You can see it on your screen if you're watching us on YouTube or wherever you're watching us. It's got 20 conferences, a ton of notes and everything. I opened the Fox Valley Conference page, and here's what I wrote for Crystal Lake South. You ready? 1-8 last year. That's it. That's the list. I wrote nothing down for them. I had no expectations of that win tonight. How impressed are you with, Crystal Lake South, or maybe the little more balance in this league that we've seen in years past? I know we're seeing Burlington Central kind of move to the top, but Prairie Grove and Prairie Ridge had held on to that pretty firm, but changing the guard maybe?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to go that far just yet, because maybe this is just one of those things, but it's definitely a telling sign right now that you have a couple of the marquee programs in this league sitting at 0-1 after week 1. Jacobs has been, at least on the periphery of that discussion for the last couple of years, but
right.
the South win, like I was kind of saying before we started the broadcast that if there was a survivor pool in high school football, I would have long been eliminated tonight with
right.
a few of these games that I thought would have been, running the other way. So definitely, I think this week ones are always a huge fact-finding mission. I think we've found out a lot more facts this year in week 1 than we usually do.
Yeah. Maine South trailing Batavia 42-28. They're starting the fourth quarter a couple of minutes ago. I think so, maybe in a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter for sure. But the other aspect of this is I want to keep it going with the Fun Valley. Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge, they run that wing T. They run the single wing. They run that, run heavy. 98% heavy offense. It was raining tonight, Soucie. It was on grass pretty much. And I believe it was at Cary Grove, not at Jacobs, if I'm not mistaken. But if so, I think both services are in grass. And that offense didn't do anything. That's what catches my eye in terms of alarm bells going off for sure. Keep in mind, now we've talked about the schedules too and how it's changed, and they just jumped from, we have to move the season up, and everybody scrambled. Well, the Fox Valley, the Fun Valley, all they did with their schedule is take the week 9 game and move it to week 1. So this was a game that was supposed to be played in October, and here we are playing this now. And so you wonder what that would have been like had that game been deeper in the season. Just curious. And I have no answer to that, but it's one of those, I don't know how that would have turned out.
Yeah. And there were a lot of conferences that chose to go that route. And it is kind of interesting. You can kind of look at it and say, this would have been a stretch drive game at the, if the schedules would have maintained the way that they were. And now you're kind of flipping it around. Obviously, you had opportunity to make changes in preparation, but it's definitely one of those things. You just kind of look at it and you say, well, this wasn't originally the way we thought this was going to go. But I don't take away anything from the results that would have changed or anything, but it's definitely kind of interesting to kind of look at it and say, well, this was supposed to be, week 9. And it's definitely one of those things. Interesting small school final that I just came across.
Yes.
Chicago Christian with a 14-7 win over Seneca.
Ooh, what do you make of that?
Chicago
Christian, they were there, they fell apart, now they're back.
Yeah, so from what I was kind of reading, Seneca had to replace a lot from last year's team. So trying to figure that out, maybe it's going to take them a little while. I still believe at the end of the day, they'll probably be a pretty solid team. Chicago Christian felt like they were going to get a little bit better. They had to play a lot of underclassmen last year. Filling the voids didn't go very well. And this might be one of those situations where they're kind of reaping the benefits of maybe taking some lumps last year with some inexperienced players that are now a lot more experienced.
Michael Vander Lutgaren, I'm never going to get that right. Batavia quarterback who's going to Wyoming. He's got 5 touchdowns tonight. It's 49-28. There are 8 minutes to go in that one at Batavia. And so maybe they will finish up before 11 o'clock for sure. But you know who won't finish up? Sterling. As they continue to roll out there in Sterling, it's 3-0 Metamora. There's still 3 minutes left in the first quarter because they started at 10 o'clock. I love this. This is so much fun. We're going to keep going. We're due for a break and a timeout. We have more scores. If you have not heard a final that you want to hear, let us know. We're here for you in the comments. You can slide into our DMs and let us know. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. If you're listening to us on 105.5 The Ticket down there in Kankakee, we appreciate that as well. We'll continue next, live with Friday Night Drive. He's Steve Soucie. I'm Matt Rodewald here on Shaw Local.
SGKR Injury Attorneys tackles the toughest cases. I'm Matt Rundio. When life throws a flag, we go on offense to protect your rights. Don't get sidelined. Score a touchdown with SGKR. Visit us at sgkr.law.
I'm Craig Wilcox. Illinois families are taxed enough. As your state senator, I voted against every tax hike Springfield has put in front of me. I fought wasteful spending, and I'll keep standing up to politicians who think the answer is taking more of your hard-earned money.
Since 1851, we've been informing, connecting, and reflecting the communities we serve, large and small, rural and urban, suburban, and river towns alike, with dozens of local newspapers, radio stations, magazines, and specialty brands like Friday Night Drive and Starve Rock Country. We meet people wherever they are. We shine a light on local government. We celebrate Friday night touchdowns. We tell the stories that shape your day, from neighborhood heroes to the Chicago Bears. But what truly sets us apart? It's our people. The award-winning journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers who live here, work here, and care deeply about what matters most to you. We don't just report the news. We're part of the fabric of the places we serve, from the Mississippi to the Illinois, from the Fox all the way to the chain of lakes. Trusted for generations, still earning it every day. Shaw Media, your most trusted local source.
Welcome back to Live with Friday Night Drive, our final half hour together here as we continue on for week number 1. Plenty of finals in the books, plenty of finals not even close, and a couple of games didn't happen tonight. I got a couple of weird ones here, Seuss. There's a 100-minute rain delay for Rockford Lutheran and Rock Falls, and Rock Falls ends up with the 14-0 win after a forfeit win. So basically, Rockford Lutheran said that's enough after 6 minutes left in the first quarter, and they took their ball and went home.
Wow, that's interesting. That's I don't even really know what to make of that, to be honest.
I don't either.
That's pretty surprising.
I've seen some weird stuff in week 1, but man, that's on the hot list for that for sure. They're in the end of the first quarter. Metamora 3-0 on Sterling out there at Sterling for sure. Glenbard North got a 27-12 win over Brookfield East out of Wisconsin. That's a notable win for the Panthers. And it's been an interesting night all the way across the board. Loyola getting a final 31-0 shutout winner over Warren. What has intrigued you in the last couple of minutes as you've been looking through the scores, sir?
Just trying to figure some of these things out right now. Some of these games, I'm seeing some scores that I don't necessarily know surprise me, but just trying to sort through, what got played, what's still hanging on right here. Yep. Hinsdale Central, 27-10 win over Waubonsie Valley. So, like we were talking about.
I watched a little bit of that one there. They look pretty much in charge.
Yeah, so that's one that just popped over my screen here. Just trying to find some of these loose ones to try to find out if they actually played tonight. That's the intriguing argument that's coming on right now. But so right now I did not get to see if that game has gone final between IC Catholic and Nazareth. I'm going to look right now because
see if we can get a look at that as well and kind of cruise. While you're looking at that, I got a couple for you here. Fenton, the winner, the Bison, our guys from Bensonville, 41-7 over Maine East, a big victory tonight. How about Glenbard South? a winner 56-6 tonight. We have other scores. Plainfield East over the Argonauts. Plainfield East needed this win this fashion, 49-0 to start the season. So that was a nice win for them to get. We mentioned Westmont.
That's a sneaky good Plainfield East team. I think we might be hearing a little bit more from David Kroom, talented running back for them.
Yeah.
Got a big offensive line that looks like they can control the line of scrimmage at times. I mean, that's an interesting team, Plainfield East. I do have a final, by the way, 35-21, IC Catholic over Nazareth.
Okay, so they were able to hold on and take care of business there with that victory. Sorry, readjusting myself here as you watch me on camera, just sort of like trying to move around in my seat. I don't stand still or sit still very well for 90 minutes. So here we are. We're trying to do that. We have Fenwick and Joliet Catholic earlier tonight. Fenwick getting a win, I believe, over the Hilltoppers. Bill was at that one. He's got the recap for us. Let's listen in.
Alrighty, guys. We are final for Memorial Stadium in Joliet. It's going to be Fenwick 28, JCA 13. And the Friars, they set the tone from the jump. Their first play from scrimmage was a 84-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Miles Hill to wide receiver Jimmy Watts. But in that first half, JCA answered back. They scored soon after that. They scored a touchdown, tied it up, and from there in that first half, it was a defensive slugfest. So the first half finished 7-7, but after that, it was all Friars, all Fenwick. They scored 21 unanswered, and their pass game was just unstoppable. That's why our player of the game is going to be quarterback Miles Hill. He had 252 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception in that first half, but it seemed like after that interception, he just locked in. It seemed like that interception kind of flipped a switch of sorts, because after that, he seemed to make every read correctly. And he played phenomenal. The Friars played well, and they got a good win to start the IHSA football season.
You know, we've seen this in other seasons as well. You get that first interception and you sort of settle down afterwards. What is it with all the quarterbacks that we've seen across the state? Do you get that feeling that there's some nerves around, like, to try and prove themselves against some of these other guys that we're seeing across the state? There are a lot of D1 quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, there are. And it's one of those things where I think when we get later in the season, you might be looking and comparing some stat lines. But I think tonight, just for just about everybody, you might have a little bit too much juice in the engine, if you will, where you're like, I want to go out and make this big throw and show everybody what I'm about. And that might lead to a mistake here or there in the early going. But once you get those nerves under control, and I think you're seeing it around a lot of places, maybe you get off to a little bit of a slow start, but some of these guys are putting up monster second half numbers once they kind of get their feet underneath them and settle in and say, hey, let's go have some fun. So I think that's what kind of happens in week one in a lot of situations. You just get guys that are have been chomping at the bit now for 6 weeks or so and are ready to hit somebody that is not the same colored uniform as theirs, and get out there and do it. So sometimes you maybe get the motor gets revving a little bit too hot.
Morris, a final 56-16 over Lamont tonight. We mentioned EPC earlier, Eastland Pearl City. They got a win over Sandwich, 24-8. Looking at some of the scores in northern and the northern and western part of the state. Antioch wins a barn burner over Schaumburg. What do you make of that from a playoff point standpoint? Sequat's 33-27, the final.
Antioch's been near the top or at the top of their conference for years. So for them, it tends to be, this is a game that they certainly want to win, but they're, likely going to be a playoff team at the end of things. Schaumburg, it's kind of a different story. You look at where they're at in their conference. These are the kinds of games that, boy, if they get that win there, that's going to set them up a lot better moving into the second half of the season. So, it's week one, long way to go, but those are the kinds of games and those are the kinds of programs when you look at, they're typically like they're around that 3-6, 4-5, maybe climb up to 5-4 type of bubble. Those games are a lot more important to that team in the sense of I need to get that win, because once I get into divisional play, all 5 of those teams that are with me are probably going to give me trouble. So I need to get these wins when I have an opportunity for them. So that's probably one that will sting a little bit from Schaumburg later in the season, I think.
We mentioned it before, York over Glenbrook South 20-17. I only want to mention it one more time because the Glenbrook South social media team hit me with the graphic. So thank you for the tags. I got to see it for sure. We appreciate if you just tag us and stuff so we can see this. That always helps us for sure on social media. You see my handle right now. You can hit me up on X. We mentioned Streamwood 34-14 over Elmwood Park. What do you make of that from a playoff point standpoint? Is that a team that could get to 3 wins and maybe just sort of go, well, we'll see where we're in? Because that's a team that hasn't been in the postseason in a while.
Yeah, it's hard to sort out the Upstate 8 sometimes.
The whole league is
for that
right?
one. That's it's very difficult sometimes, especially in the middle of that conference, because it seems like every year you get a team that kind of jumps up from being down in that 1-2 win group up to 5, and you never know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Streamwood. I don't know. But, Elmwood Park is a team that's been on a pretty substantial losing streak. So for Streamwood, that's probably a game they felt like they probably should win. But, you always like to start off 1-0, regardless of who the opponent is.
We know now, Souce, they're in the second half. I believe they're at GK in Genoa. Dixon with a 26 lead on GK. So we figured that out. So there you go. They're in the second half up there at that game. We don't have a final yet from Batavia, but we know we're getting close. Hello, Fremd. The Vikings go 20-0 winner over Lake Zurich. They go up to Lake Zurich and get that win tonight. So that's been a fun little rivalry back and forth. I'm glad they keep playing each other. They could easily have moved each other off their schedules, but that's a good measuring stick for both of them as they've seen the rise and fall of their programs a little bit, both of them. So that's a good win for Frem tonight to get that in shutout fashion. We mentioned this score because it was the first one really that came in, but Glenbard West, a 21-14 winner over Lockport. Looking around the state to see what might still be live at this point. Don't have a ton that are live at this point outside of Illinois, or outside of the Chicagoland suburbs. 9 minutes to go. Kewanee and Rockridge are tied at 21. Keep that in mind. And so that one's interesting to me. Suburbs, nothing left there, still going. And we do have this one in Mundelein. Grant, the Bulldogs, 16-14 lead over the Mustangs in Mundelein. There's 7 minutes left in that game. They're in the fourth quarter now. Buffalo Grove at Hoffman Estates, they are tied at 14. So that's interesting as they go deep into the night up there in Hoffman Estates. Anything that you're seeing live of note, sir?
Not really. There is a game that I'm interested in the small school ranks that I wasn't able to get my feed to work tonight that I'm interested in. If anybody can help us out with a Stockton El Paso Gridley score, I'm interested in that one.
Yeah,
that is one that I would like to know how that one fared out tonight. So that's definitely one that I'm looking for in terms of what happened in that one.
Let's go through the comments because Matt now is always one of those that jumps in for us. We appreciate that. They had a weather delay up in Moline. Then they got the final. So Rochester over Moline, the final of 21-17 out there in the Quad Cities. I saw pictures of Browning Field tonight. I've been there. It's a beautiful place. It's Rock Island's stadium's amazing too. Browning Field's very underrated because you have that historic building down the street. But I saw pictures of the press box, and you and I are the only ones that would care about this. Their radio booth is huge, ton of space, notable space for broadcasting purposes. And you're looking like, well, why do you care about that? Have you been to Lincoln Way East? We're sitting like this. And I've broadcasted a state semifinal game standing behind two people. So that's a treat trying to do games. Not picking on Lincoln Way East. I'm just saying they're an 8A school. Sometimes their press box, I'm like, why don't you have one that acts like it? Point being is that not every press box is equal, and they're not all the same. And I will tell you this, Batavia's used to be terrible. I did radio games in that one for a long time because it was cramped. They just redid it maybe 3 years ago, and I hadn't been in there. I went in there today for the first time. Wow. I was way more impressed than I thought it would be. It looks kind of, from the outside, you go in there, and it's divided up the way it should. Well done with Batavia on the design on that. So we do have an EPG score there. It's EPG with a 27-20 lead over Stockton. That game's still going, like many others for sure.
Okay. All right.
So there
fair
you
enough.
go. We got that score. Bennett and Lena Winslow tied at 28. Final minute of the third quarter there. Canelan is wrapping up with Rock Island with a 49-7 lead. Final minute in that one. Up at Harvard, last check, their second quarter, Reed Custer and Harvard. Reed Custer, the Comets, with a 14-0 lead on the Hornets. I have no idea if that one's still going or not. That whole area had to deal with some serious lightning delays. Genoa, Marengo, Harvard. I think North Boone had some delays up there as well. Harlem at the half with Belvedere North. It's the Huskies 28-7 leading Belvedere North at the moment. Downstate, the wildest one I've got right now. Here you go. Robinson 44, Charleston 41. 5 minutes left in that one.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's definitely a wild one.
That's a long night down there for sure. That may have started on time with all those points. How about Danville with a 2-point lead with 2 minutes to go on Champaign Central? I don't know what Danville has done the last couple of years. There's nothing that registers for me what Danville's history has been recently other than a BJ Luke reference. But, that to me, if any win at this point is a tough one to get, those two teams need this one tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those situations you kind of got those two programs are kind of in the same place. So it's fitting that they're right kind of down to the wire in that one. Both kind of in the old format, kind of fringy close to the playoff bubble, seemingly. Yep. The 3 and 6, 4 and 5 world seems to be where those programs have been at for several years now. So this opens the door for them, but obviously looking down the line a little bit, potentially a really important victory for whoever gets it.
A couple more downstate. We haven't touched Southern Illinois very much as well. EPG update. They added a touchdown, 34-20 over Stockton. That game, 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in that one. Nokomis 32-13 on Arcola, 4 minutes left in that game. St. Joe Ogden has put up a 64-burger on Prairie Central. There's 2 minutes left, 64-20 in that game. And those are the games that I have ongoing at the moment. How about downstate Southern Illinois, some finals that we haven't touched just yet? Altha 53-20 over Collinsville, the final in that one. KC Westfield, a shutout winner over Wood River East Alton, 43-0. Quincy over O'Fallon, 31-28, a tight one down there in the Metro East area. Nashville 42-14 over Roxana. Columbia 36-28 over Mater Dei. We know Muscuda got they had a forfeit win tonight with Eisenhower leading off their schedule, and they had a game tonight, some sort of scrimmage and some sort of massive event down there in their community. So they were able to celebrate their team a little bit. Carterville 28-24 over Marion. That's a final. Johnston City. Remember we were watching Johnston City for a bit these last few years. 24-14 over Carmi White County. Triad 41-20 over Highland. Benton 18-6 over Heron. Hamilton County 14-0 over Red Hill. Greenville over North Mac 45-0. Flora over Cesar-Valier 49-8. Civic Memorial over Newton, a final of 36-28. And Carlisle a winner tonight, 28-25 over Lawrenceville. What stands out to you at this moment?
Right now, just trying to zero in on those games that were kind of dangling out there. We talked about it a little bit before. Long weather delay in that Moline-Rochester game. And
yes,
Moline gave Rochester a lot in the first half. They were hanging right in there. Rochester eventually being able to pull away. I think it's going to be an interesting year over there in the Western Big Six. I do think Moline is a pretty good team. I don't think that was a fluke tonight, hanging with Rochester in the way that they did. But I think Geneseo is going to be pretty good. I'm interested to see what East Moline United has. I know they were playing Wheaton Academy tonight. I have not seen a final on that one.
Yeah, neither
but it's an Sterling obviously going a little bit late tonight, but that's a good league, and I think that I think some of those programs might be able to take it a little bit of a step forward over what they've done in the last few years.
A couple of the Catholic League games that have slipped under the radar for us. How about St. Ignatius 51-0 over St. Viator tonight? St. Pat's 54-27 over Rolling Meadows, going out to Rolling Meadows for that one. Niles Notre Dame, the Dons with a 50-6 win over Westinghouse tonight. Let's see if I can get some other ones for you here. This is the time of night where finding new stuff has been tricky. Typically, however, there's been games everywhere that have been delayed as a result all the fun that we've had with the weather tonight. But there are only a handful of games still going on. Abingdon Avon 34-12 or West Hancock right now. That's starting the second half. Last I checked, that's opening minute of the second half. Rockridge 24-21 over Kewanee, final minutes there. Stark County 27-14 over South Fulton, 8 minutes to go in that game. And so we're just keeping an eye on the scores. And this has been interesting just to kind of see how everyone is going to approach these games, being so early. The thing that I was worried about as we see a DUPEC final, thank you to Brad for that, 32-12 over Oregon and the Hawks. You know, when you get to August 21st, and again, this is Illinois, because usually there are teams and schools and states across the country that they're going right now. This is not new to them. Indiana has been going on this week for a long, long time. But Illinois has some catch up to do to kind of move to this week. So there's been some complaining. And the thing that I have in my head was the weather. We've had such a bad summer of humidity. Tonight was humid, but tolerable. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I saw some cramping in the lower level games, but I don't know, maybe I'll be curious as to hear from everybody else whether the cramping was anything different than you would see in an August 28th game. You know, these first couple of weeks, the weather's warm and then it turns. And in years past, you got 1 or 2 weeks before it was fine. Now you might get 3 or 4 before, and how does that change the way you play? Because a lot of teams will say, well, we need to be able to run the ball because in November you're going to have to run the ball. Well, when you get warm weather most of the season, you can kind of lean on the pass a little more.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that we're going to have to see the impact of it as we go along here. Because I'm always used to week 1 being the game, the when we're out there and the weather cooperates, we usually have all kinds of cramping or issues of that nature because it tends to be either 100 degrees or raining. Those seem to be the 2 options in week 1. You don't really get anything in the middle. So this year, I guess we chose rain. That was the option that we chose. We chose column B. So it'll be interesting to see if we start maybe seeing some of those effects a little bit later because we're going to have it. I mean, there'll be a week 3 one where, for example, where it's absolutely sweltering and you're like, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be fall? I mean, that's what tends to happen. I think for me, the turn of the tide is always when I've given up on the shorts for the year because I know that I can't make it. That's kind of the turning point for me. How many weeks can I get in? So that's definitely an interesting one.
I almost went to the pants tonight because of the rain, thinking mosquitoes will just eat me alive because I'm a magnet. I can't help it. But it was fairly comfortable out. It's just sticky, but like you walk into a steamy bathroom, but nothing terribly uncomfortable out there. A couple things I want to touch on before you and I bid adieu for the night. So Geneva played tonight. They had a big victory over Libertyville, which I think was an impressive win. They have Oswego next week. But here's the fun backstory of this. Nelson Wendell is the starting running back for your Geneva Vikings. Typically, to start the school year, they have this thing called the corn boil. And Soucie, it's a lean to the farm era of this town here in Geneva. And it's somehow stuck around for 49 years, even though there isn't a piece of farmland anywhere near us at this point. But there's a corn eating contest, and it's a big deal. It's still a big deal. First day of school, they have the corn boil. That night, it's the fall sports kickoff. Everyone has some sort of blue and white night, something like that. They have the corn eating contest. Who gets voted in by the students? The starting running back. Now, here's the thing. Normal years, you have the corn boil the first day, and then the first game of the year is not another 8 days or 9 days away. It's the next night. So he had to eat, and won it, by the way, 3 ears of corn as fast as he could. And you could see the trepidation on his face of, oh, this is going to hurt. So imagine being 17, being a solid running back, and having to eat 3 ears of corn, and in less than 24 hours, go out and play a playoff team with all the corn in you, for sure. So that was fun to see. I don't know what his numbers were, but I was certainly interested to see how the running attack was tonight, for sure.
At least from what I saw early in that game, it looked like Bennett Conkey was hogging all the Geneva stats. I don't know where he ended up, but I saw early in the game he had 180 all-purpose yards. So I don't know what he ended up with, but my goodness.
And when we got a final there, Batavia with a 49-35 win over Maine South, a bit of a surprise because at the start, Batavia wasn't clicking offensively. They got a touchdown on a quick slant route on 3rd and 3 that went for 60 yards, and that sort of lit the fuse. And I think they were able to do what they wanted to do and get against David Sarah's defense side to side to side. And I'm telling you, Batavia's got a lot of weapons to throw to. A couple of Division I receivers out there for Michael to kind of throw to. We had some cancellations tonight. We haven't really talked too much about it. DeKalb Sycamore is one of my favorite events of the year, and this is too bad that they weren't able to get going tonight. They're going to play tomorrow, and they're not playing at NIU. They're going to go over to DeKalb and play there instead, which is a great facility, but they want to play at NIU. This is why you play the series. So it's disappointing they won't be able to do that. And so that got wiped off tonight. Minooka and St. Charles North, that is a 1:00 kick tomorrow. They were in the sophomore game, and then rain came, and they just decided to call Minooka's varsity team, don't get on the bus. Just stay there. We're going to do this tomorrow. The sophomores are already here. We'll just do that game, and then we'll see you tomorrow. So that's how they're doing it. Ottawa and Plano, also another cancellation that I know of. That's going to go tomorrow. Did you hear other cancellations that I haven't mentioned? That was pretty close to the list.
Yeah, I haven't. I heard a lot of people speculating on it, but eventually I think that those were the only two that I heard of. There was that suspension of the game, the Coal City and Pontiac game. That's concluding at 11:00 tomorrow in Pontiac. That's another one that I had heard of. There are a few other ones out there. Aurora Christian and Ottawa Marquette went through a very lengthy delay. I believe they're back on the field now. Finished that one up. The last I heard, that was 20-6 in favor of Aurora Christian. But I've seen several photos of, looks like we're going to get back on the field now tonight. So whether or not they finish them tonight or bring them back tomorrow, I think there's still a few in limbo out there. But
I think Fulton and St. Bede were another one that they got washed out, and they had actual storms come through there where they had to take cover. So that one also caught my eye on social media too. Hey, two things I want to get to before I go. Mount Carmel, East St. Louis is tomorrow. What's your take on that one? It's going to be fun to keep an eye on that one Saturday night. They played each other before, but this is a new group, and we're going to find out how good Mount Carmel is from a state standpoint tomorrow night.
East St. Louis has a lot of talent on that roster, but I've said it before. I've said it leading into the season. I cannot recall an Illinois high school football team with as much elite talent on it as Mount Carmel has. So how it all gels, how it all comes together, obviously have a new quarterback under center. That'll be interesting to watch, but just absolutely loaded for bear on both sides of the football with guys that are going to not only be playing Division I football, but be playing Division I football at major universities, Power 5 conference guys all over the place on the field for Mount Carmel. I'm not sure if we've ever seen a roster with this many players and there are players that you have not heard of yet that will eventually probably end up with those scholarship offers that we're not even talking about yet. That's how deep this roster is. It's an incredible assembly of talent. And while I believe East St. Louis has a lot of talent in their own right, I think they will have a hard time keeping all of the caravan in check tomorrow night. Still glad the game's being played. A tip of the hat to both programs for making it happen, because it would be easy for both of them to back away from it and go, I don't know if I want to do that right out of the gate. So I'm glad that that's happening. Kudos to both programs for making it so.
Yeah, keep doing it, please. And East St. Louis, if Mount Carmel doesn't dance, find someone that will up here, because I know that we want to see this every year. It's because with Loyola or Brother Rice, or it doesn't even matter who it is. We would just love to see that matchup of some regards. My dad had a cool thing tonight. It's the start of football season in Indiana. My dad's alma mater, they got a brand new field over there in Elkhart, Indiana, the Concord Minutemen. So they started things off and they played their arch rival Elkhart, and they invited all the football alumni back. So there, my dad went. He went over there to look at it, and he sent me a video. You can see it on my Twitter. It's a beautiful field. It's awesome. And it's, sizable school. Let's say an Indiana 5A team out of 6 there. And, It was a tight game, 15-13. Elkhart beat Concord, so there's your random Indiana score for the day. We mentioned New Palestine and Elkhart. And so there you go. We cover you with Michiana football as well. It's just I just want to bring that up because my dad graduated from high school in 1972, and he went back to his alma mater tonight. And all I know is that throughout the whole week he'd been talking about it to me. Very excited just to go back and see. Didn't know who he was going to see. He's going to see a lot of kids in green. He's going to see somebody wearing 14, his old number. He knows that he's not going to get sacked for the 15th time that night like he did back in 1970 and 71. I may have won more games as a varsity football player, 3 total games. But the fact that, when you're on a team and you can still go back to where you played and just remember what it was like and just kind of look around a little bit proves that high school football is something that, really captures your moment as a teenager, but stays with you all the way through adulthood. And that's kind of why we do this, right, Soucie? I mean, it's really so that we can keep connected to this sport that we just, we fell in love with back many, many moons ago. So that is it for us. You will continue on the old interwebs. Thanks to those of you listening on 105.5 The Ticket. We will see you again next week. And you can catch our show on Wednesday night as we will continue our discussion of week number 1 and all the scores, and follow us on social media. And we'll keep talking to you all the time. Next week, week number 2 is going to be so much fun. Soucie, I had a good time, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you. And this has been Live with Friday Night Drive here on Shaw Local.
SGKR Injury Attorneys tackles the toughest cases. I'm Matt Rundio. When life throws a flag, we go on offense to protect your rights. Don't get sidelined. Score a touchdown with SGKR. Visit us at sgkr.law.
I'm Craig Wilcox. Illinois families are taxed enough. As your state senator, I voted against every tax hike Springfield has put in front of me. I fought wasteful spending, and I'll keep standing up to politicians who think the answer is taking more of your hard-earned money.
Since 1851, we've been informing, connecting, and reflecting the communities we serve, large and small, rural and urban, suburban, and river towns alike, with dozens of local newspapers, radio stations, magazines, and specialty brands like Friday Night Drive and Starve Rock Country. We meet people wherever they are. We shine a light on local government. We celebrate Friday night touchdowns. We tell the stories that shape your day, from neighborhood heroes to the Chicago Bears. But what truly sets us apart? It's our people. The award-winning journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers who live here, work here, and care deeply about what matters most to you. We don't just report the news. We're part of the fabric of the places we serve, from the Mississippi to the Illinois, from the Fox all the way to the chain of lakes. Trusted for generations, still earning it every day. Shaw Media, your most trusted local source.
Hi, guys. We're back now to kind of break down the scores that I didn't find and try to parse out what happened here in week 1. I'm going to start running through what I'm looking for in terms of scores. I know this is going to be a weird night in terms of finding some scores and finding these situations because lots of weather, running some late games. So if you know what's going on in these, you know the game's been put off or even still going at this point in time, something that I'm looking for, pop it in the comments. I'm going to be taking a look at those now, trying to get them. So if you've posted a score in there, and I ask again, please post it in. Like I said, I haven't been looking directly at a lot of the scores that have been in the comments. I've been trying to track down scores through other venues, but I do appreciate every time anybody puts those in there. Just to get an overview of everything that's going on right now, and there's a lot. So crazy week 1, a lot of results that were unexpected. So those of you that have stayed around and have done this with me before, I typically go conference by conference, and I try to find the scores that I'm missing from around the state on Friday night. I'm catching a lot of information right now with late games. So I'm going to start right at the top like we always do, alphabetical by conference, to try to get all the scores in from tonight and find out what we've got in terms of cancellations. So start with the Apollo. Right now I am keying in some finals that I've already found tonight. We've got them coming in pretty good pace, but boy, it was an interesting night. Just a general overview already. A couple of teams that fell that I was not expecting. We talked a little bit about it on the broadcast, but really surprised by the Lincoln Way East. Not that I thought that Lincoln Way East was going to be bad by any stretch of the imagination. Just thought they had a lot to replace, and Brother Rice was going to be a big challenge for them. But kudos to them for pulling off that victory. That is a big win. That is nicely done by them. So the first score that I'm looking for tonight is Muhammad Seymour and Morton. That's the Peoria area Morton, not the northern suburb one. So I'm going to start putting my list together. So Muhammad Seymour and Morton is the first score that we're looking at. So I'm just looking at those posts. That's a good point, Matt. That Mount Carmel East St. Louis game is at 6 o'clock. I didn't realize that until just recently. Thanks for pointing that out. Hoping to get down there. We're going to see how that goes for me tomorrow in terms of how much I'm able to get done around here if that comes to fruition. So also looking for Mattoon and Decatur MacArthur out of the Apollo Conference. So far, missing 2 scores out of the first league of the night. So this is going to be a strange night, and I know that. So just in terms of tracking down a lot of scores, I don't expect to get everything sorted out tonight. I fully expect them to be scores that we have to chase into tomorrow, but we'll do the best we can. Looking now to see if I've got Mount Zion's score from tonight as well. So I do not. So missing 3 scores out of the Apollo tonight so far. So off to a raggedy start. So Muhammad Seymour Morton, Mattoon, Decatur MacArthur, Mount Zion, and Limestone are the 3 games that I'm looking for out of the first conference of the night. So now moving on to the Big Northern. I think the Genoa Kingston game with Dixon is still actually going on. So I don't expect to find a final in that. So Winnebago over Stillman Valley, I see that in the messages. I appreciate that one. I was looking for that one. Thank you for that. So, yeah, that Dixon Genoa Kingston game appears to be in the 4th quarter now. Dixon leading 27-6. Byron 55-7 over North Boone. I did not have that one. Okay. So that leaves Durand and Oregon. I have that final as well. Okay. So the only score that we don't have from the Big Northern is Dixon and Genoa Kingston. So we got 4 finals that we don't have right now. Muhammad Seymour Morton, Mattoon, Decatur MacArthur, Mount Zion, Bartonville Limestone, and Dixon and Genoa Kingston. So getting through those, we'll move on to the Big 12 now. Missing a few scores from there. I got some of them in earlier tonight. Once again, it was an interesting for high school football in Illinois. Lots of games with marquee programs playing against one another. That Maine South Batavia game got a late start, but lived up to the hype. I thought it was an interesting game. Batavia seemed to show off a lot of their offensive skills. I think that's going to be a team that's going to be tough to stop this year in terms of their offensive firepower. So we got a 3-0 halftime score between Metamora and Sterling. Appreciate that information. Thank you. 10 o'clock start. You don't see a lot of those these days, but that's what happened in that one. So, okay. Curious about this one, if anybody can help me out in verifying this one. I'm seeing right now that Peoria Richwoods beat Peoria 48-30 tonight. I'm wondering if anybody out there might be able to confirm that for me. I think that's what it was. Just like to get a second verifying that one. That surprises me a little bit, but once again, early in the season, so some of these teams might put up a result that I maybe was not expecting, but that doesn't necessarily make it so. So Muhammad Seymour 33-15 over Morton. Thank you, Bradley. Appreciate it. Okay. That has not been officially announced. Technically, East St. Louis has until, I believe, the first of the month of September to declare up. I have not heard any official rumblings that that's going to be the case. The question is, East St. Louis, are they playing up in 7A this year? I have heard that they were strongly considering that. We're probably going to do that, but there has not been an official notice made on that yet. Like I said, schools have until September 1st to make changes in that upward. So East St. Louis is already committed to playing in 6A. They have to do that for at least this year before they could go back down to their natural enrollment if they chose to. But they were considering moving up to 7A. I believe they're probably going to do it. But as far as officially knowing it, no, we have not got that declaration yet. So that'll be interesting to see. Like I said, you have to declare to the state by, I believe, September 1st in order to do that. So thanks for that question, Brian. That'll be interesting to watch. We'll be keeping an eye on that over the next couple weeks to see what happens with that. So just trying to work my way through the Big 12 right now, looking for some scores that I know I saw. But one that I haven't been, I saw it earlier, didn't see a final. Glenwood and Normal Community West is one that I'm looking for. All right, let me crack off Hammett. And then Danville over Champaign Central, 26-24. That is a winner there. Okay. So looking for Glenwood and Normal Community West. Normal West won that game 35-26. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Okay. So we'll put those in there. And we'll move on to the next league because we got one Saturday game there. So then 26, 35. All right. Moving along pretty good. Got a fair amount of finals in so far earlier tonight. So now we're going to go to the Black Diamond Conference, see what's going on there. Okay. Let's check here. All right, Flora with a 49-8 win. Got that one. Johnston City won 24-14 over White County. Okay, the El Dorado game is tomorrow. Okay, Fairfield. And let's see if I can find that at my alternate source. Okay, adding to the list now, we've got Fairfield and Edwards County. Looking for that one. I saw a score earlier, did not see a final. So, okay. So right now we're at the going on to the Nokia conference. Okay, Red Bud wins 6-0 over Pinckneyville. So, thank you, Matt. Fairfield 44-0 over Edwards County. So, all right, moving along pretty good here. Thanks for all the help out there. Don't have my system quite set up the way I like it yet, so. And then non-conference games are always more difficult to kind of nail down too as well in the early part of the season. So Carlisle 28-25 for Lawrenceville. Yeah, definitely some interesting games tonight. I'm looking forward to reading more about, finding out exactly what happens. I got in a half of Bishop McNamara Wilmington tonight before I came home for the broadcast. So that was an interesting game. Interesting to see, where the defending Class 2A state champions are at. Looks like they have the building blocks to be very good again. Bishop McNamara gave them a little bit better game tonight than I expected them to. But I wonder about their depth moving through the season. A very shortened roster tonight for them. Okay, so I'm through the Cahokia, Illinois. Now I'm on to the Cahokia, Mississippi. Okay, so Waterloo with a 12 win over Mount Vernon. It's a good win for them. Okay, 12-21. All right. Casey Westfield beat Wood River 43-0. I think I already had that one in there. Okay, so now I'm looking for Columbia beats Breeze Mater Dei 36-28. Okay, they're in the Metro Valley now. Okay, so going to move right through there. And there are a few Catholic League scores that I never got the actual final on, so we're going to move into those now. Civic Memorial 36-26 over Newton. Okay. All right. So let's go here to the CCL. Okay. So the blue tonight. Never saw a final on Loyola. I know Matt said it during the broadcast, but I, of course, didn't write it down because that happens sometimes. There it is, 31-0. So 31-0 over Warren. Okay. Thanks for that, Matt. I never saw a final on Montini and Hoopston. I know it was lopsided pretty quickly, but if anybody has that final, I'd appreciate it. $48-0. Okay, thank you. All right. This is another one that I did not write down. I know Matt said it, but the St. Patrick's score for tonight is another one that I'm looking for. $54-27. Thanks again, Matt. Tearing through these tonight. Meadows. Takes a little longer to put the non-conference games in just because they're two different reference points. I have all the teams grouped into conferences on my major sheet. So did the Bennett-Lena Winslow game go final? I never saw it if it did. My feed was not working for that game, unfortunately. Last update I saw on Bennett was 34-28 with 2 minutes left in favor of Bennett. I don't know if it stayed there. I'm going to check one more place before I add it to the list. Bennett did win 34-28. Okay, thank you, Matt. Interesting game. I'm interested to see how that one played out. It was close. I expected it to be close. kudos to both squads for playing that game. That was a fun one. I'm glad that happened. Weird to see Lena 0-1, though. I will say that. Okay, so I think, let's see, we got that one. That's a Saturday game. Okay, now I'm looking for a De La Salle score against Revis. I think it was one. I never saw the score, the final score. Okay, so I have that one, De La Salle and Revis. And now I'm looking for Marian Catholic and Bloom. I know that Marian Catholic won the game. I don't remember the score. Okay. All right, so then we've got Marian Catholic and Bloom is what we're looking for now. Couple big surprises out of the Catholic League tonight. The biggest one that I saw that I'm still kind of looking for a little bit more information on is I saw that King defeated St. Lawrence, which I thought was really interesting. Still checking a couple different places for a Marian Catholic Bloom score. I know that Marian Catholic won, and I think I know what the final is, but I'm not exactly sure. Okay, 27-9. That's what I thought it was. So Marian Catholic with a 27-9 win. The other public or CCL games are all tomorrow. Okay. Go down here and put that in here. 9-27. All right. So now we're moving into the Central State 8. A couple scores that we're missing from before. Let me give them another check here now that I'm in this conference. Okay. Still missing MacArthur and Mattoon, so don't have that one. Missing Normal, U-High, and Rochelle. So that's another one that I do not have. Rochester beat Moline in a close game. Rochester and Moline were dueling pretty much the entire game. So that's a good win for Rochester. Okay. Next up. Let's see what else. We got to go to next conference. The other side of the Central State 8, the West Division. Okay. St. Teresa Interesting. St. Teresa with a 16-7 win over Quincy Notre Dame tonight. That's a good win for St. Teresa. All right. So that leaves me with a couple more in that division that I don't have. Fourth quarter on the MacArthur. Okay, U-High and Rochelle are tomorrow. Thank you. I had seen. If you right, Matt, you go see like 4 games tomorrow. There's options all over the place. Okay. Now I'm looking for Springfield Lanphier and LaSalle Peru. And Springfield Southeast and East Peoria. So the 5 games that we're looking for, I know that 2 of them are still in progress. Dixon, Genoa, Kingston, Mattoon, Decatur, MacArthur, Mount Zion, Bartonville, Limestone, Springfield, Lanphier, LaSalle, Peru, Springfield Southeast, and East Peoria. So those are done there. Now we're going to the Central Suburban. So Deerfield beat Lake Forest 6-0. Glenbrook North and Lakes. Looking for that one. Let's see if we got that one. Okay, so right now I'm looking for Lakes and Glenbrook North. I don't have that one. Now we're going to pretty sure Fenton beat Maine East tonight. I remember Matt saying something about that. They did. 41-7. Lots of scores. The first week is always the slowest one, just trying to, especially with the weather considerations tonight, but still lots of scores that I need to input. There's usually a lot more games that are finished before we start the show. Tonight there were hardly any, so that didn't allow me to get ahead of the game like I sometimes do. So okay. so now I'm just kind of checking for various scores that slipped through. Okay, I don't have a Waukegan Niles North score. Nope, actually I do. Okay, Niles North wins that one 41-12. Scratch that one off. Okay. All right, so now looking for Vernon Hills and Grays Lake North. Okay, East Peoria, you got that final for me there. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back and put that one in. All right, LaSalle, Peru, and Lanphier is now on Saturday. Okay. So that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, let's update those. Okay. MacArthur, 48, Mattoon, 0. Okay, thanks for those. Okay. So we've got to go back to my spot now. Okay, on to the Chicagoland Christian. A couple of these teams played yesterday, so this shouldn't take too long to round up. Okay. All right, looking for Marion Central Catholic and Noble Hansberry. Okay, also looking for Wheaton Academy and East Moline United. Missing a lot tonight so far. This is more than usual, but I'm not surprised. Okay, just found the Aurora Christian score from tonight. I had to chase that one around a little bit. 27-18 win over Ottawa Marquette tonight. Okay. Like I said, still looking for Wheaton wins that one, so thank you. 28-14. East Moline loses. Thanks, guys. Got that Wheaton score. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, still looking for that one. Now we're into everyone's favorite, the Chicago Public League. I think if anyone can confirm for me that Palatine is playing tomorrow. I think I saw that earlier in the chat, but I'm not positive. Moving along at a snail's pace. That Metamora game is going to get done at 1 in the morning. Okay. So I'm looking for Palatine Kenwood right now. I am not entirely convinced that that's... But yeah, Palatine plays at Lane Tech. Kenwood's... Okay, thank you. It's what I thought I saw. I just couldn't remember it for sure. All right, so next up is Lane and Shepherd. Looking for that one. Just found the Lane score. There we go. Thanks, Matt. And now we'll move on to the next public league, Lincoln Park and North Lawndale. I'm going to add that one to the list, Lincoln Park and North Lawndale. That was a late game at Hanson tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if that's not in. All right. So I saw this score. I just need to get it confirmed somewhere. Yep. Okay. So Good wins 73-48 over Noble Comer tonight. Saturday. All right. Now I am looking for Evanston and Phillips. Yeah, it turned out to be a pretty full day Saturday with a lot of these suspended games, and trying to decide if I want to try to get out to one tomorrow, if I can catch up with all these scores at some point. So right now I'm looking for Evanston Phillips. Just found it. So Evanston, I got that one. Okay. So moving through the public league here. Almost done with that. Okay, now I'm looking for a game that I don't think I'll find. Okay, Clark and Noble Academy out of the public league. All right. All right, so still kind of muddling through the public league right now. Schurz beats Steinmetz 18-12. And then we go all the way down to Gage Park and Solorio is another one that I'm looking for. So public league is cluttering up my list right now. Yep. Okay. All right. So real quick, I'm just going to run down the games that I'm missing right now. Mount Zion, Limestone, Dixon, Genoa, Kingston, Lakes, Glenbrook North, Vernon Hills, Grays Lake North, Marion Central Catholic, Hansberry, Lincoln Park, North Lawndale, Clark, Noble Academy, Gage Park, Solorio. So that's where we're at right now as we move out of the public league and into the Duquesne. I got a fair amount of these scores already, so this shouldn't take too long. Geneva 28-14 over Libertyville. Thank you for the Mount Zion score. Picking up the pace there in that Metamora Sterling game. Maybe we'll get that final before I'm done looking for scores. Let's see here. Got to go middle line I. 650. There we go. Okay. So, going back up to the Duquesne. All right. Okay, looking for a St. Charles East Matea Valley score. Oh, I got it. Okay, thanks. 27-10, St. Charles East over Matea. Okay, that game was moved to Saturday. That's a Saturday game. All right, so now we're moving along really good because I got some of these in. Now moving all the way down to the Heart of Illinois Conference. There's the Leroy score that I was looking for. 22. Leroy a 22-14 winner. And then I know someone posted this score earlier, but what did the final end up being between El Paso and Stockton? El Paso Gridley Stockton, I don't have that one either. Thank you. The Dixon Genoa Kingston score. Six. All right, very good. So we're filling a lot of holes here, guys. Getting there good. All right. Okay. I skipped over a conference, so now I'm trying to fix that real quick. Skipped over one of the divisions of the Cahokia. And that adds another game to the list, Madison and Sparta. dog's knocking over things here. Okay. Next up, we're going to go down and finish up the Heart of Illinois. I didn't get that El Paso Gridley Stockton score. Thank you for the Sparta Madison score. I do not know where you found that, but nice work. Those are the tricky ones. Okay. So we're all through those. I still don't have Stockton El Paso final. So now I'm in the Illini Prairie. Okay, that one was the one that I was missing. 64, 6420. Okay, on to the Illinois Central 8. Missing a Reed Custer Harvard score. Last I had it was 42-6 in the fourth quarter, but I do not have a final in favor of Reed Custer. Marengo 47-0 over Streeter. That's a Saturday game now. Okay. So let's go through all of those. Now we're down to the independent schools. Dwight loses 42-12. Okay, that's a lightning delay. Thank you. Okay. Moving along pretty good here. All right. Let's go back up to I think we're at the Interstate 8 now. No, the Independence still. Okay. I know who won this game. I don't remember the final. 636. Okay. Now, did I get I don't remember seeing a Fulton St. Bede score at any point in time. That's definitely one that I'm looking for. Fulton and St. Bede. Yep, we're going to add Fulton and St. Bede to the list. Okay, let's run down the list real quick. Lakes, Glenbrook North, Vernon Hills, Grays Lake North, Marion Central Catholic Hansberry, Lincoln Park North Lawndale, Clark Noble Academy, Gage Park Solorio, Reed Custer Harvard, and Fulton St. Bede. Next year, Becca is joining the Illinois Central 8. Fulton St. Bede moved to Saturday. Thank you. Next year, Senna and Sandwich are joining the Illinois Central 8. That will be a closed conference. So we'll have 10 teams. That will happen next season. Okay, let's go down and change that to a Saturday game. Good stuff. Okay, so now I'm out of the independents. At least I think I am. Westmont 116-12. Okay, on to the Interstate 8. That's a Saturday, that's a Saturday, that's a Saturday, that's a Saturday. I never saw a Caneland final from tonight. There it is, 49-7 Caneland over Rock Island. So that's all I need there. Okay. Now we're going up to the Kishwaukee River. I know I don't have Harvard Reed Custer. And that appears to be, need Woodstock North and Elgin. Woodstock North and Elgin is on the, officially I'm looking for it. And I found it. Okay, 42-14 Woodstock North. Okay. Next up, the Lincoln Prairie. Got that one, got that one, got that one, got that one. Saturday. Okay, so no, I don't need that one at all. Got all those scores in. There's one Saturday game in that league. So now we go to Lincoln Land. Okay. A little over halfway down the list right now. A lot more Saturday work to be done tomorrow now than there was originally. Okay. All right, so looks like I'm looking for Bureau Valley and Monmouth United. Hamilton, West Hancock. Farmington beats Havana 54-27. Anawan Weathersfield 36-0 over Brimfield. Elmwood Brimfield. Bureau Valley 3627. Thank you. Four to 6. Lewistown 654. Stark County, where are you? There you are, 2714 for Stark County. Okay, so that conference is done. Now we moved down to, oh no, I got one more score. I saw that earlier. I know Galena won. Yeah, 41-0 in the crossover game for Galena. So Galena goes 41-0. All right. Moving out of that conference. 34-0 final. Thank you. All right, Reed Custer. Find them. 34-0. Harvard. The Kishwaukee. 0-34. Okay. So now we can go all the way down to the Little Illini. And let's look those up. Only got a couple missing there, so that should be quick. Okay. Looks like I'm looking for DuQuoin and Mount Carmel. The other Mount Carmel, correct. Downstate Mount Carmel, as some people like to refer to it as. To 20 for Althoff. For Collinsville. Okay. Thank you. Nice win for Mount Carmel there. DuQuoin is down here. Let's see. Okay. Next up. Out of there, into the Metro Valley. I found this one earlier. 1442. All right, so Nashville over Roxana, 42-14. $3:28 left. My goodness. Okay. So now I'm actually just about to get to Metamora on my sheet. Dunlap wins 48-21. Galesburg. Yeah, probably 3 a.m. or later. I would say that's probably likelihood. Okay. All right. So Metamora Sterling are still playing, obviously. Pekin loses to Plainfield South 26-27. So good non-conference win for Plainfield South. 27-26. Okay. So barring the Metamora score, I think that's all I needed in that conference. On to the Mid-Suburban. Buffalo Grove beats Hoffman Estates 21-14. Prospect and Stevenson. Prospect wins 31-10 over Stevenson. Okay. I know that Oak Lawn beat Wheeling 60-0. Excuse me. Okay. Go back up to the mid-sub here, get the rest of those put in. All right, so this is one that I lost track of tonight in all the chaos. Barrington and Lions. The reason I didn't hear it is I don't think it was reported anywhere. Did they move it to Saturday? I did not. Okay, Barrington and Lions on the hunt for that one. Oh, just found it. Okay. 24-19 in favor of Lions. I think we're at about 75 games that we're missing right now, which is pretty good for this time of night. Just a little after midnight. Conant and Bartlett. I know I saw that one. $21-0 for Conant. Okay. That's a Saturday game. Fremden Lake Zurich. I know I saw that final somewhere. $20-0. Okay, Antioch and Schaumburg. I know Antioch won that game. (34-27) was the final. 34. Antioch 34-27. Okay. So we're through them. Now we're into the North Suburban. Grant Mundelein. I think I saw that one earlier too. Maybe I didn't. Maybe that's my imagination. Grant and Mundelein right now is on the hunt for that one. There it is. Okay, Zion, Benton, and North Chicago. Boy, that might be the most points I've seen Zion Benton ever score. 61-12 over North Chicago. Okay, now on to the Northern Illinois 10. All right, got a Marion Central Catholic score. There we go. Okay, 42-0 on that one. Okay. Heading back down to the Northern Illinois 10. Even 28. Belvedere 13. Okay, looking for Rockford Jefferson and Rockford Auburn. Let's see here. Let's see what else I need. Harlem beats Belvedere North. 14-55. 14, Auburn and Jefferson. Also need Rockford Boylan and Rockford Guilford. So Guilford and Boylan, Jefferson, and Auburn out of Rockford are both missing. Okay, now down to the Northern Lake County. Already missing one of these, but I'm going to give them another chance in another source. Okay, Grayslake Central gets a 41-31 win over Tinley Park. Honda wins 32-21 over Hinsdale South. Wakanda up here. Round Lake wins 18-14. Marking 14-30, 13-18. Okay. All right. Jefferson over Auburn 37-0. Okay. 7-0. 37. Okay. So now we're going to move back down here. Still missing Grays Lake North and Vernon Hills. And also from this conference, Glenbrook North and Lakes. Yep. So still missing those two games. Guilford Boylan moved to Saturday. Thank you. Okay. So we didn't have those two games. Now we go all the way down to the Sangamo. Yep, we do. Okay. Sangamo. Getting into the S conferences, getting closer to the end. Okay, Athens over Riverton, 46-8. Pittsporta over Pittsfield, 50-21. Williamsville, 49. Pleasant Plains, 7. Olympia, 31. Auburn, 21. Morrow Forsyth, 59-0 over New Berlin. Okay. Okay, on to Southern Illinois River to River. Okay. Harrisburg beats Anna Jonesboro 56-3. Benton beats Heron 18-6. And then we go down here to Massac County. All right, missing Massac County and West Frankfort. Carterville beats Marion 28-14, 28-24. Thank you for that. West Frankfort 48-14. Awesome. Okay, missing Carbondale and Murfreesboro. South Central Conference. Next up. Southwestern wins 14-13. Stun. Hillsboro wins 27-14 over Pana. Vandalia wins 48-20 over Carlinville. Thank you, sir. Carbondale with that win. Over Murfreesboro. 13-47. Carbondale wins 47-13. And then North Mac loses 45-0 to Greenville. Okay. On to the South 7. I'd say we're probably under 50 games right now that need to be found. I'm going to run through, after this conference, I'm going to run through the list of missing games. 41, 27-41. Highland, 41-27. Okay. Final, Metamoris Sterling. There we go. Marion loses 24-28. Okay. So I'll go put those in there. Metamora 10-0 over Sterling. Down here at the bottom. 0-41. Okay. Starting to see the bottom of this. Okay. On to the South Suburban. Thornwood over Hillcrest. That's interesting. $56-16. $56-6. Okay. Andrew over Oak Forest. Okay. That's an interesting team. Okay. So everybody in that division is done. The red needs 1 score. I know that Argo lost. Don't remember the final. $0.49. Okay, 49-0 for Plainfield East. Okay. So now we're going back up here, but before I move into the Southland Conference, I'm going to run down the scores that I'm missing. Lakes in Glenbrook North, Vernon Hills and Grays Lake North, Lincoln Park North Lawndale, Clark and Noble Academy, Gage Park and Solorio, and that's it. Okay, on to the Southland. Yorkville beats Crete-Monee, 25-15. Okay. Ridge Township loses 39-8 to Oak Park River Forest. Kankakee beats Edwardsville 28-7. Joliet Central over Thorn Ridge 20-23. Okay. Thornton beats Berwyn Cicero Morton 26-18. Yeah, can the K's stay with Lincoln Way East? Boy, that was impressive tonight, what Lincoln Way East did. I do think he's pretty talented. I think it'll be an interesting game. I mean, based on what I saw tonight, I got to believe Lincoln Way East is still a pretty heavy favorite. That was a really impressive win. I think of all the results tonight that surprised me, and there were quite a few. And that's the one that I think surprised me the most, even though I have a lot of respect for Lincoln Way East, and I think they're a great program. Brother Rice is a very talented team. That's a great win. Okay, on to the Southwest Suburban now. Grays Lake North, 42-21. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I was a little surprised by that Quincy Notre Dame St. Teresa score too. Okay, so on back going to the Southwest Suburban. Stag beats Romeoville 6-3. Homewood, that's another one that really surprised me. Homewood Flossmoor, not necessarily that they won, that they did it in such dominating fashion over Bolingbrook. 31-0 in that one. That's another one where I was pretty surprised at the margin. I know him to be in a good place. Dunbar West over Lockport, that's a good game too. JCA Fenwick, that was a good game. I mean, it was, but Fenwick's established itself. I still think Joliet Catholic will be a better team in the second half of the season, kind of breaking in some new guys at some key positions. Tricky schedule to get a lot of momentum in, that's for sure. Away West over Belleville East, 24-7. Okay. 4. Then Sandburg here. Okay, under 50 games easily here. Sandburg beats Riverside Brookfield 28-6. All right. Nope, nothing's easy in the Catholic League, that's for sure. Okay, on to the Southwestern now. Belleville East beats Alton 56-0. Belleville West, that is. St. Louis plays on Saturday. What was the O'Fallon Quincy score? Quincy wins 31-28. Okay. Okay. Now we're getting down into the nitty-gritty here. The Southwest Prairie. Less than 100 teams to check on here. Some of them I've already got the results in for them, so I would say we're probably in about the 30-game range right now. Okay. All right. Right now I am not finding an Oswego East Joliet West score. I know that Oswego East won. I can't seem to find a final. 59-36 win for Plainfield Central. Okay. Okay, 28-14 in favor of Oswego East. Okay, on to the Three Rivers now. Three Rivers, Mississippi. Okay. All right, looking for a Princeton Riverdale score. Mercer beats Hall 46-44. Mendota beats 23-14. Rockridge beats Kewanee 13-7. A little closer than I thought. That's a Saturday game. And Erie, wow, that's a good one. Erie over Monmouth Roseville, 24-22. Interesting. So we're missing Princeton and Riverdale out of the Three Rivers Conference. The other games are Saturday. Princeton Riverdale tomorrow. Okay. Fair enough. I thought it was strange. I usually never have any problems finding those scores, but okay. So now let's go to the Upstate 8. All right, Benton won. Streamwood beats Elmwood Park 34-14. Addison Trail wins 40-12 over West Chicago. Okay. (2013) win. There we go. Willowbrook 20-13. Okay. So let's go to the west side. They've got all those scores in. Only need one of those? Really? Okay. All right. Only 6 more conferences to go here. West Aurora loses 27-49. Downers Grove South 49-27. Okay, on to the Vermilion Valley. That's a Saturday game. I saw that score a little while ago. Georgetown Ridge Farm 36. Moments 25. 36. Let's see if I can find the Westville score. 48-8 over Iroquois West. 8-48. 48-8. Okay. So then the West Suburban Gold, the only result we need is our Saturday ones. On to the Western Big Six. Okay. 3 more conferences to go. Looks like 7 more games that we need to chase down. All right, looking for a Geneseo score against Davenport Assumption. And now we're going to the Western Illinois Valley. Beardstown wins 45-20 over Whitehall North Green. Camp Point wins 28-0 for West Central. Triopia. Hardin Calhoun wins 50-0. Okay. Brown County wins 52-0. Geneseo won 16-13. Thank you. Carrollton loses 52-0. All right. Pleasant Hill 60. Okay. So Greenfield and Jacksonville route is the okay, so we're down to, okay, Greenfield wins 45-0. All right. So I'm going to do a quick scan here, make sure I didn't miss anything else just on the input here. Okay. So down to the final ones of the evening: Clark, Noble Academy, Glenbrook North and Lakes, Solorio and Gage Park, Lincoln Park, and North Lawndale. Those are the only 4 games that I do not have reports on. A much fuller slate on Saturday. So obviously that created a little bit less work to do tonight. But a really interesting week 1. I'm really looking forward into digging a little bit deeper into some of these scores and numbers. A fun night and I think a nice preview to what I think is going to be a really interesting high school football season. So wrapping up a little bit before 1 o'clock, which is pretty surprising in a week 1. But thanks for all your assistance tonight. Thanks for hanging out. and we'll be back next week. Have a good night, everyone.